Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to some race reaction for the 2022 Australian Grand Prix. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. There was a little moment, I think before the midpoint or around the midpoint, where I sort of thought, "Oh, come on, guys, let's do something." But actually, it turned into a very, very good race. Very, very good race indeed. Would we say 3 crackers in a row, or would you say that's a little bit less thrilling than the first 2, but still a pretty good race? I think that seems pretty fair. Maybe I'm being a little bit biased there on my own opinion. If you are tuning in today, first of all, welcome. If you're live, is what I'm supposed to say there. And hello to everyone in chat as well. Twigster, I know your name. It's bugging me. And I'm sure I don't see you very often in live streams. You've just said you've made this one. Thank you as well to Charles Edward Cheese for your contribution about half an hour before the stream even started. Thank you so much, mate. It says, Community Sean, what up? Charlie Cheese checking in. Charlie Leclerc running away with it. Bedtime until next time. Goodbye. Charles Edward Cheese out. Thank you very much, mate. Always appreciated. Very generous of you. And yes, just to let you know, I'm solo for this one. It's the first time in a long time. You're just going to have to put up with my gob for the next hour and a half or so. So apologies in advance for that one. So of course I will be coming through to you on chat or in chat as much as possible. Seems to be quite tricky to get people on for the morning ones. I can't think why. I'm joking. They have their reasons. But yes, just me and you guys today, which, it's my channel. So I suppose it makes sense that I should carry this one with the early start. Not a complaint, by the way. I love getting up early for Formula One races. Should we just get on with it and look at the race result? Why not? I've got lots of notes, by the way, so don't worry. Yes, Charles Leclerc. Dominant, I think, is the word I'm going to go with for that one. 58 dominant laps, all in the lead as well. 20.5 seconds clear of Sergio Perez in second place. George Russell, third place. I did say in the preview on Thursday, not blowing my own trumpet here, but I did say on Thursday, if there was a bit of drama, I fancied Russell for a podium. There you go. Lovely stuff. Lewis Hamilton, 4th place in the second Mercedes. 5th for Lando Norris. And 6th for Daniel Ricciardo. What a great weekend for McLaren compared to where they've been over those first 2 races. Esteban Ocon, I know you've got his first name there. I often do that with Esteban. A minute off the lead, but still 7th place. Some good points for Alpine. Valtteri Bottas in 8th in the Alfa Romeo. He's had a great start to the season, Bottas, hasn't he? Definitely. 9th for Gasly. A couple of points on the board for AlphaTauri and what was looking like a really difficult race for them. More on that later. Alex Albon, what a strategy, Williams, nicking that point. Well done to them. I think he came out of the pits about 3/10 clear of Guan Yu Zhou or Zhou Guan Yu, so that was a close one. 11th for Zhou, 12th for Stroll. We'll talk about Aston later. What a shocker. 13th for Mick Schumacher, 14th for Kevin Magnussen. Yuki Tsunoda is 15th. Nicholas Latifi 16th. Fernando Alonso 17th. And then your DNFs, Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel and Carlos Sainz. And just a heads up, that is just the provisional race result, because at the moment, in with the stewards, we have Kevin Magnussen and Fernando Alonso for allegedly forcing another driver off the track. We've also got Yuki Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly and Mick Schumacher in with the stewards as well for an incident behind a safety car. If you saw that, we'll talk about it later, but Mick Schumacher very close to the back of Yuki Tsunoda's AlphaTauri. So that is your result. Yeah, I mean, that's where we're going to have to start, isn't it? Not Yuki Tsunoda at all. We won't start with Yuki Tsunoda. We'll start with Charles Leclerc. Absolute dominance out there today. Yeah, okay, Max Verstappen retired, and that's why he's got that 20-second lead over Perez, but I don't think Max Verstappen looked anywhere near challenging for that win, apart from after that safety car restart. I think the second safety car restart where Leclerc, by his own admission, got out on the dirt in the penultimate corner and then went wide-ish into the final corner and didn't quite get the restart he wanted, and that allowed Max Verstappen to challenge alongside. You'll see some pictures in stream of that a little bit later, but that's about as close as Max got to challenge for that. Leclerc absolutely dominant, and I was really impressed with him today, actually, with the way he was able to pull out a 5-second lead-ish after each safety car restart. So quick to get to that 5 seconds. And I think it just demonstrated that Ferrari was clearly the car to beat this weekend. I think a lot of people thought Red Bull were coming into this one, including me, on Thursday as the favourites. I think after qualifying and practice, you thought, still fancy Red Bull. I think they've got a shot, but nah, it was never on today for Red Bull. Just a stunning drive, and his first career Grand Slam, if I'm correct. I believe that's his first career Grand Slam, which is to lead every lap, fastest lap, win the race, and pole position. So that's his first, and it's Ferrari's first since Singapore 2010, and that was from Fernando Alonso. So it's been a long time coming for Ferrari, and I think that's given him about a 34-point lead over George Russell in the standings. I mean, what Well, look, it's way too early for title talk. I've seen some people on Twitter talking about, is this it? We've had 3 races of probably up to 23 this season. It is way too early to be talking about World Championships, because if you think back to, again, I watched over the winter, 2012, wasn't Fernando Alonso about 40 points clear or something like that of Sebastian Vettel after the summer break, and Vettel won the championship? So absolutely no way is that a championship done, but it is a very strong start for Ferrari, and I think what it will confirm is that they are title contenders. I think we kind of knew that after the first 2 races, but that performance today, they're definitely in this one. I mean, hey, look, it could fall apart. We don't know. I'm sorry, Tifosi, Ferrari fans. It absolutely could fall apart, but I don't think it will. I think they're right in this one. But yeah, great performance from Charles Leclerc. Not quite so good from his teammate, obviously. I don't know what to say about Carlos Sainz. Miserable weekend, pretty frustrating actually, wasn't it? Not great after qualifying, some issues there, which meant he didn't get to the line in time to go for that super fast lap towards the end and try and get up there with his teammate. Started 10th, was it? 9th or 10th, somewhere around there. So not a great start to his weekend anyway, Carlos Sainz. And then before the race, they had to change his steering wheel. Had steering wheel issues again, so they had to change it about a minute before they went out for the start of the race, and that kind of left him with a horrendous start. Started, like I say, sort of 9th, 10th place, dropped down to 14th at the start, and then into the... I get my corner numbers mixed up because they've changed the track. How dare they? Turns 9 and 10, the super fast chicane. Kind of just got in there too hot, trying to make, or not necessarily trying to make a move, but got in there too hot, wide, straight over the grass, spun it, lost control, into the gravel, game over. I mean, it just couldn't have been any worse for him today. I mean, not the worst driver out there or the worst team out there this weekend in terms of performance. We'll talk about Aston Martin later. I'll get that one in nice and early. But yeah, no way was that a good day for Carlos Sainz. And then to see your teammate dominate as well like that, he's been quite hard on himself, hasn't he, the first 2 races as Carlos? So he's going to come out of this one probably 10 times harder than he was over those first 2 races, and it's got to be hard to see a teammate winning like that when you're sat in the gravel. But I mean, hey, he came out for the team photo at the end. He celebrated. He's a team player, is Carlos, and I'm sure once he gets things right in that car and kind of ditches a little bit of the bad luck, if you want to call it that, I think he's looking good. JW97 says turn 11. This is what I'm struggling with, JW, because turn 11 is the corner that's not quite 90 degrees now, but is almost 90 degrees. It's not actually the chicane, because I thought that was 9 and that was 9, 10, and the other was 11, and it is 11 on the track map. But people kept referring to that super fast turn 9, where the DRS was open, as dangerous. So I think we've got either 2 track maps, or drivers and teams have got a different idea as to what corner's which, but the official map definitely shows that one, and I'll double check it now just out of interest while we're kind of having this conversation, because I'm a little bit lost on it, to be honest, but it doesn't matter. It's not the chicane's still down as 9 and 10, and then 11's at the end of that second or third DRS straight. But yeah, really bloody weird one, but there you go. So not much more to say on Carlos Sainz, but I'll come to you guys for some comments on Charles Leclerc in a moment. But there he is, sipping the champagne, ironically, from a Ferrari bottle. It's not really champagne, is it, anymore, but Ferrari fizzy wine, let's put it that way. But yeah, great performance. And I think, like I say, too early for championship talk, but I think they're in a position, they were discussing this on Sky actually, I think they're in a position now, Ferrari, where with that lead and how comfortable it was today and how well Charles Leclerc has performed in his first 3 Grand Prix, they're possibly getting to a point where they might need to back him, but I don't think that's going to come now. I think we've got a few races yet before that's an issue. They might not even look at that until mid-season, but what I mean is that, Verstappen's going to come back strong. Red Bull will come back strong. Mercedes, when you understand their car, we saw that today. Much better race pace than expected. They're going to get in the mix. If we get a mixed-up weekend like this, where, what could Alonso have done? We'll get to him later. McLaren are looking better. They might need to start protecting that when the battle really heats up, but great start for Ferrari. What else did we have in my notes for Leclerc, actually, before I come to you guys super quickly? Did have a wide moment at turn 14. The safety car restart, as I say, that led to the side-by-side, but there's nothing really to do. He was just so dominant. So I'm going to stop saying it. I'm going to take some of your comments on it now, because there's no point me sitting here going, wow, for the next hour. Absolutely fantastic. Red Bull need to be worried Verstappen was resigned. Never seen that before, says Micah. We'll come to them in just a moment properly. Look, some comments on Charles Leclerc. Sainz will win a race this year, says Siggy Brick. I hope so. I'd like to see Carlos take a victory, and I tend to agree with you. I think he will. It's that Ferrari is clearly a very fast car. That's an obvious statement. Put the klaxon on for an obvious statement alert, but super quick car. I can't see how he won't win a race this year, but then, you never know, do you? He was a bit ticked off to the team in post-race interview as Carlos. That's from Michael. Definitely. He's been down in the dumps all weekend a little bit, hasn't he? Certainly since qualifying, he's not been happy. But again, the first 3 races, he struggled with that one. So, but we'll leave Carlos there because I don't want to feel like I'm Carlos bashing. He's just been very unlucky, I think, is the thing for me. But Charles Leclerc, one of his best drives, do you think? Or am I getting a little bit ahead of myself there? I mean, Austria overtake from Verstappen was pretty good. I think, where was it? Bahrain, where he nearly took his first win, was a very good drive. His aggressive driving, some say over the line in Monza in 2019 was pretty incredible, and that was a special win as well. But I think in terms of I think that's the first time we've really seen him dominate a race, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think back. He's not had a huge number of wins, but I'm trying to think if he's had one where he's just got out front, disappeared, and we've never seen him. I think that's the first time. He was kind of close to that in Austria a few years back, but like I say, Max Verstappen threw it up the inside and got that move done. So I think that was just superb from him. So yeah. Should we do Verstappen then? I'll keep coming to you guys throughout, and I'll keep an eye out for your comments on it. Leclerc will be tough to beat with this start, but there is another 20 races, so anything can happen. Absolutely agree, 100%. Way too early to be panicking on that one. We've got some stuff coming in from these stewards, but I'll sort of read those as and when we get to each of those drivers that it concerns. So, Max Verstappen then. We'll talk about Max because he was the closest to battling for the lead. I kind of want to talk about Perez because he was second, but we'll just get Verstappen's issues out of the way. Absolutely so angry, as you were saying in chat there, a bit resigned at the end. He was frustrated, says it's unacceptable to be retiring from 2 of the opening 3 races. It's left him on just 25 points. I think he's down to 6th in the standings as well. Again, long way to go, but he didn't have the pace today to take that fight to Charles Leclerc. I'll argue that all day long. Did have a lock-up into turn 13 as well at one stage. He had suffering with left front graining, kept falling sort of 5 seconds back, had that opportunity to take the lead, but Charles managed to hang on to that one. But apparently, according to those experts over on Twitter, who know a lot more than I do, apparently there's a fuel leak on Max Verstappen's car. He was told he could smell something, he said over team radio, that was weird, and the team told him to pull over and stop the car. He pulled over on the exit of turn 2, and that was game over. Fire extinguishers out, as a fire under the engine cover, and that was the end of his day. So pretty damn miserable in the end. And it's a shame because I think, Verstappen versus Leclerc has been so good in those first 2 races, and we got a little bit of it today, like I say, with that opportunity at the safety car restart, but we haven't really seen it as much this weekend. But it was heating up quite nicely to be quite the battle. And again, I know we've got hell of a long way to go this season, and Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, they're the kind of drivers that can turn that kind of deficit around. So he'll get himself right back into it. He'll probably even bounce back in Imola with a comfortable, dominant victory himself. You know what he's like. But yeah, very, very frustrating day for Max Verstappen. Nothing else in my notes on him, really. I mean, I don't know if he tried to pull the undercut on Charles Leclerc, but he was the first of the top 2 or 3 cars to pit. Came in, put on the hard tyres. That was on lap 18, so a little bit earlier than expected, and then was going to run them to the end, obviously, but he was just nowhere near even undercutting. I think the problem with undercutting in Australia, particularly this year in Australia, is it was taking a long time for people to get the hard tyres up to temperature. So trying to undercut when you can't get your tyres up to temperature is just not going to happen, because that just leaves so much time to respond. But the problem was as well, I think Leclerc was well outside of that undercut window, so he had time to wait a couple of laps to react. Plus then you've got the tyre warm up as well, so never really any pressure there. But you've got to try something different when you're in that situation. You haven't got a car that's going to challenge for that win, hasn't got the pace in the race, then you've got to try it. And DRD just saying there, the overcut is so overpowered this year. It is, and we saw that, didn't we, in the race? I think Mercedes managed to get, I think was Hamilton got an overcut on Perez. Obviously, George Russell got an overcut, but that was because of safety car. But I think the overcut was the way to go this weekend. But like I say, you've got to try something. If you've not got the pace to challenge for the win, pitting early if you can to try and put that pressure on the lead car. You've got to give it a go. And if it doesn't work, doesn't matter. At least you've tried. But some interesting points in commentary, actually. because Russell and Hamilton were right in the mix again today, it kind of stopped Red Bull trying something different, like maybe coming in with a few laps to go, let's say prior to Verstappen's retirement, coming in and changing to a two-stopper, popping on some mediums and then trying to chase him down like we've seen in the past in races. But yeah, I don't know what to say. I keep saying but it's because I don't know what to say about Max, other than that's just bloody frustrating for him and not good for Red Bull. And I think that Mercedes still second in the constructors as well. I mean, that's such a shocking start to the season, but there they are. But much better day for Sergio Perez. There he is. I think Sergio Perez has been one of the, I don't want to say surprises of the season so far, but kind of. We'll say surprises. Stuff it. One of the surprises of the year so far into how quickly he's got to grips with that Red Bull. I know last year he walked into a team centered around Max Verstappen, which is to be expected, and then he gets in a car that's only really an evolution of the years before. So Max has got a lot more knowledge in that car, and Checo's going to struggle a little bit. He got up to pace towards the end of the year, but he's kind of jumped into the 2022 car. Nice reset, had a good start to the season, great pole lap in Jeddah. Very unlucky not to get more out of that race with the safety car timing, and then today he's delivered a really solid result. A couple of moments that were frustrating though. He did fall behind Lewis Hamilton at the start as he tried to avoid the back of his teammate, and Lewis just threw it up the inside there, but managed to get him back eventually, which was it the outside of turn, was it the inside of turn 3 with DRS? I can't remember now, but that was a few laps in, so that brought him back into play. But he was there. I think he was pretty much on for a podium, so to get second place is a huge boost as well. Do want to talk about his move around the outside of Lewis Hamilton at, let's still call it turn 9, that chicane. What a stunning move that was. Absolutely fantastic. That worked quite well this weekend, is that draft, if you like, all the way down to that chicane. I didn't expect to see any overtaking in there. We saw a couple go wrong as well, but Checo in there, round the outside, went in a little bit deep. Again, to be expected if you're going to throw it in there. Kind of made things really tight on the exit and into turn 10, but looked like Lewis was going to come back. Safety car came out and that kind of saved him there, but still a great move. I love seeing cars attempt it in that turn 9-10 chicane. It's, yeah, like I say, didn't work for Sainz, didn't work for Magnussen, although I don't know if he really tried to move there, but didn't really work there for them too, but absolutely did for Sergio Perez. So fantastic stuff from him. And I did add something else to my notes, but I've been using marker pens and I can't read them because they're on the back of my page, so I can't read it, unfortunately, but it'll be something absolutely fascinating, I'm sure. But yeah, do you get what I mean by Perez? DRD saying there, Perez is a dark horse in the championship. But yeah, do you see what I mean? Kind of, he's... Surprise seems a little bit over the top, but I hope you get what I mean by, jumping in that car, getting to grips with it. Nice reset in 2022. He's kind of closer to Max this year, it feels, in a race. And we know Perez is a better racer than he is qualifier. Yes, I'm fully aware that I was saying that 2 weeks after that pole lap, but he seems closer to Max in races and seems to be a bit more in the mix at the front, which I think is going to be important for Red Bull in what could end up being a really tight championship fight if we get, a third team in there, but whatever. I just think he's had a great start to the season. Perez is fast and smart, says Carl. He's a super quick guy, is Sergio Perez. Absolutely is. Dell says Perez is a dark horse for fourth. Harsh. Very harsh. Jai says he's meeting expectations, which actually, to be fair, that's a good point. Should we be getting that excited about that, or is he just doing what you'd expect him to do in one of the fastest cars on the grid? It's a fair point, that one. Nightcrawler says, Sean, do you think Red Bull are running their engines? And he's deleted that one, so I can't read it. So I'm not going to read that one, DRD, but I completely agree. Perez looks more comfortable than Verstappen, says Siggy Brick 1999. He did this weekend. He definitely did this weekend. Things weren't right for Red Bull, though. They were changing parts on the car pre-race. That was one of the notes I put on Perez and Verstappen, actually, was just a note about Red Bull making changes to Verstappen's car before the race because they were concerned about reliability. So they've not looked comfortable. I think they changed a lot overnight as well. So not a comfortable weekend for Red Bull. But I think when it comes down to the crunch, and I don't think this is a controversial statement, I think Max will probably comfortably beat Perez by the end of the season. But great start to the season for Checo, so let's not tear him down on that one. I think unless this season really goes awry later, Red Bull will definitely hold on to Checo for next year, says Neil. I think I mean, based on the first 2 races, I don't see why not. But don't forget, Pierre Gasly's out of contract, and Helmut Marko's already said that they don't want to let him go. But if there isn't a seat available for him, then they may have to. So I think the eyes are on Gasly. I don't think he'll be back in that car. Long way this season to go, of course. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see on that one. Yeah. Hamilton unlucky again, says Glamour. We'll get to Mercedes in just a minute. Perez World Drivers' Championship 2022, says Andras. Ooh. Is that more out of hope than expectation? Honestly, I'd love it. I'd quite like Perez up there fighting for the championship. A Duck on Quack says, if Verstappen's engine hadn't failed him, there wouldn't even be talks of Perez being more comfortable. Lol, it's nothing to do with that. He just looked more comfortable all weekend. He absolutely looked more comfortable all weekend in that car. In my view, when you're watching that, lot less complaining from Perez than there was from Verstappen. I know Verstappen's got high standards and wants to be winning races and taking poles, but Perez seemed more comfortable. So it's nothing to do with Verstappen's retirement. Perez was in the mix this weekend and, you know, did get a better start than Max off the line. Had he not had to take evasive action, he may well have challenged for that one. I don't think he would have dared to try it around the outside of Verstappen into turn 1. Helmut Marko would be a bit miffed at that one, but I don't think it's a controversial statement to say Perez is more comfortable in that car this weekend. Maybe just me, but there you go. Even when Verstappen was complaining about the front left, he was extending the gap to Perez by 0.1 or 0.2 per lap. Carlos fans are panicking, says W. Cooley. Yeah, I don't think they're panicking just yet. Not just yet. And where was that question that you just popped it back in again? Nightcrawler says, Sean, do you think the engine problems are due to them being overclocked or just the Newey design? This happened with Newey and McLaren back in the day. I don't know about overclocked. I think Christian Horner said something interesting after the race, actually. He said that they would and it's what we've talked about on this channel before in streams, is that they said that, you know, they would rather have to try and make a super quick engine reliable than make a slow one fast. So I don't think the overclocking thing's a thing. I think they'll run it to the absolute maximum they can without risking it blowing up, which, you know, didn't work today. But certainly they had their issues as well. But I don't think it's necessarily an engine issue. I think this is all around the fuel, isn't it? It's a fuel leak today. There was the pickup problem, I think it was, thinking back to Bahrain. It's only a few weeks ago, but it feels like forever ago already. So I just think... I just don't think it's the most reliable unit out there at the moment, and they will work on that, and I think they'll get there. I'm pretty sure of that, because Honda are still involved, aren't they? Honda are still involved to an extent at the factory, so they'll be able to do what they can to improve reliability. So if the raw pace is there, if they can get the reliability sorted, they're a serious threat this season. So I don't think they'll be angry, frustrated, disappointed, all of those cliches about how the start of the season has gone in terms of those sort of first and third races with the double retirement in Bahrain and then the retirement for Max today. But I don't think they'll be too concerned as the season goes on, because they seem to have a lot of faith in that new powertrains division with the Honda people still involved, or a few of the Honda people still involved. So I think they'll get on top of it. And again, 53rd time this stream already. Hell of a long way to go this season. So I don't think Red Bull are overly concerned. We'll do Mercedes in just a moment. A couple of super chats coming in. Twigster, thank you very much. Says, yeah, it's been a while. I'm sure, yeah, it has been a while. It has been a long, yeah. It does feel like a long time since I've read your name, but definitely know you. So thank you very much for your super chat. And KL74 says Leclerc has enough points to lead the constructors. Is that true? He absolutely does. Great spot, and great. You know I love a stat. You just know. You know I love these stats. So yeah, absolutely. Well done, Charles Leclerc. I think Lewis Hamilton did a couple of years ago. Didn't he have enough points? Was it 2020? Had enough points to win the constructors on his own, if you just look at the points and don't consider the differences if you have to take points away from other people. But yeah, that is an interesting one. George Russell. I was going to say Lewis Hamilton. It's not. It's George Russell on the podium in that Mercedes. Like I said on Thursday, bit of drama. I think he's got a great shot at a podium. There he is. I think that is a guy who can be incredibly proud with how he started his time at Mercedes. You know, a little bit clear of Lewis Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship. Great result in Jeddah. Podium today. Second Mercedes podium, of course, with Lewis Hamilton taking Bahrain. I think Mercedes will be ecstatic with 2 podiums from the start of the season, given how things were looking or have been looking for them. And I've put on my notes here, surprised by the race pace of that Mercedes. Am I the only one who was shocked by that? Because after practice, they didn't seem to be anywhere. After qualifying, they weren't horrendous, but there wasn't a huge amount of optimism there. They were hoping to be able to cling on to that best of the rest or fight and all of that with your likes of McLaren and co. But I did not expect them, number one, to come away with a podium. Yes, Max retired, but they were still fourth and fifth. And number two, I didn't expect them to be challenging the Red Bulls to a point. It took Perez a little bit of time to get back past Lewis Hamilton, which was, good defensive driving from Lewis. And George managed to, run his tyres nice and long, got that safety car luck or bonus or advantage, whatever you want to call it, to leapfrog his teammate, and I think it was Perez as well. Managed to get ahead of. I'm surprised their pace was there, and there were points where the Mercedes boys were closing in on Red Bull. So I'm just a little bit shocked by that. I didn't think they'd be a threat. I thought their issue was going to be keeping the McLarens behind, and as it turns out, it wasn't at all. There were points where they were fighting with the McLarens and keeping them behind, but I think they were looking pretty good for those positions, and I think George was exceptional today. Absolutely. Again, I'm going to keep saying it because I know people will come at me later for it, and I was lucky because of the safety car, but George stole my line in his press conference, or a version of it, where he said you've got to be there to pick up the pieces when the luck falls your way, basically. So, that's what he did. Fantastic drive, and he's got to be very proud of that start to the season as well. So, yeah, kind of really blown away. I've not got a lot of my notes on George, unfortunately, because we didn't see... It was another one of those situations where we saw Hamilton and we saw Russell, but we kind of always saw them together, if that makes sense, for quite big chunks of that race. But that, I always kind of look at my notes and think, I could do with something in there. But actually, it's probably a good sign for a driver if there aren't too many notes, because it means they've just turned up, got on with the job, driven nicely, and picked up a fantastic result at the end of it. So, yeah, and I know we're going to call that his first proper podium. I know he had Belgium, but that's his first proper podium, isn't he? He really got the Belgian one from qualifying rather than the race. So I don't think that's unfair on George. I don't think it is. I mean, the less said about Belgium, the better. The race, not the country. The country's fine. Just the race last year it wasn't even a race, was it? But yeah, great from George. Lewis today, good start. Made it to third. After the start, pitted lap 22 for the hard tyres, managed to overcut Perez, which is what I was talking about earlier with the not being able to get the heat into those hard tyres immediately after stops. You see people roll out on the softs or the mediums and they can do it much more quickly, but on the hards it was kind of tough this weekend. We saw it a little bit in practice as well to get the heat in there, and he managed to therefore overcut Perez as he kind of struggled a little bit. So yeah, I've got what have we got here for Hamilton? Overtake Alonso, DRS, lap 31, turn 1. Not a huge amount there either, but I think he was a little bit... I don't know what the team radio thing was about. If anyone knows for sure, if anyone was on F1 TV and got the full one, I don't know, but we only heard part of it where he kind of said that the team had left him in a difficult position or something like that. So I don't know what that was about. Please do let me know in chat if you've got any info on that. Like I say, we don't get F1 TV in the UK, so we don't get access to the full team radio channel or anything. I suppose Sky probably do it somewhere, but I'm not pressing the red button because I don't want to catch up on the highlights on Sky Glass and Sky Go or Sky Q. Engine overheating, so bad, so I had to back off. Thank you very much, Random. He was whining about the team, says Michael. I don't know what that was about. It was engine overheating, apparently. So Lee, thank you very much. Jerry as well, and thank you to Dammers too, because his brakes, engine and all that were overheating, so that'll explain why they're in that position. They asked him to close up, but also saying he needed to monitor temps. Oh, I see. Yeah, well, to be fair, that is a difficult position, isn't it? Please close up, but also don't get too close because it's too hot. Yeah, so that explains that one. I was just wondering because I'd only heard that part of the team radio. That's all I'd seen. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, fourth place in the end today. Not a huge amount to say other than it's nice to see Mercedes surprise us on a Sunday with their race pace so far this year. Doesn't it feel weird saying that? Surprised by Mercedes getting a third and a fourth. So many years of dominance, and it just feels so odd to be saying that, doesn't it? It really does. Not a fanboy or anything like that. It just feels weird to be saying that Mercedes are where they are, but a really positive weekend for them. Hopefully that can continue in Imola because I want as many teams up there as possible. as possible. He did get a cracking start space. He absolutely did. I was just saying that. He got up to third place. Took full advantage, didn't he, of Perez having to kind of duck out of the way of Max Verstappen. But a great start from Lewis. Great start. Great race for Mercedes. Great race for Charles Leclerc. I think a great race from Sergio Perez as well. But unfortunately for Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, not really a great one. Anything else? Anything I've missed that is serious on those ones? Let me know in chat, and I will, because I'm on my own. So I've got nobody to turn around to and go, have I missed something? And they go, yeah, you missed the moment where they overtook 16 cars in 2 corners. And then I look like an idiot. So, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to do that one, does it? Let's be honest. A bit of self-deprecation. Why not on a Sunday morning? We will talk about Aston Martin. I promise you we're going to get to them quite a way down the list, actually. Well, not too far, actually, because Stroll put in a pretty decent one. George's bad luck at Sakir has now been repaid with 2 lucky podiums, says Elliot. Again, I think luck plays a part, but I think he made his own luck today, so I think I'll let him have that one. Absolutely let him have that one. I think I'm not giving him Belgium. It counts, of course it counts, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, our rumours of Mercedes engine's demise greatly exaggerated, says Leon Yorkie. Yeah, it's not that bad. There's no way Mercedes have taken that big a step backwards. It's maybe not the best out there anymore, but it's not like a 2015 Honda at all. Absolutely not. Azar says, I'm a little confused about the long run pace of the Red Bull. That's one of the things I was getting at earlier. Really surprised by where Red Bull were. I thought they'd come into this weekend as the favourites, and it just hasn't worked at all for them. Absolutely. Mario says, what race? I should have stayed asleep. Cool. I enjoyed it, and I'm sure many others did as too. But I'm sure there's many in your boat, Mario, who absolutely hated that one. But I thought it was a good race. Like I said, what was it? I can't remember. I just should have written it down. But there was a point, maybe 20 laps in, where I kind of thought, oh dear, come on guys, do something. But it picked up, and it was a good race. I wouldn't rate it higher than the first 2 races of the season. But this is Formula One. Not every single race is going to bang. And I think that's pretty common knowledge in the end. Max enjoyed it, so there you go. That's somebody that agrees with me there. And Nightcrawler says Mercedes engines suffer at high elevation. So thank you very much. Let's move on then. If I've missed anything, by the way, we'll go into it in Q&A a little bit later. Let's run through the rest of the field then. So Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, cracking weekend for McLaren. Don't know their brake issues in the first couple of races were not great, were they? But they really came together this weekend. Fantastic result. Followed each other for pretty much the whole race. It felt like every single time they went to a shot of Norris or a shot of Ricciardo, the other one was right there. So they kind of followed each other very much today, which is, I think, a sign that maybe, would it say 5th fastest today as a team in terms of pace? Or no, 4th fastest it would be, wouldn't it? So yeah, really great result. And I think they needed that. They definitely needed that one. Norris pitted lap 20, his teammate the following lap as well. They both start in the mediums to move to the hards. Overtake on Magnussen with DRS into turn 1 lap 34 for P7. That's a note there for some reason. Why not? And I've got another one here for a lap later. This is what I mean. This is what I'm saying. Norris, lap 34, passes Magnussen into turn 1. Lap later, Ricciardo follows him through. So that's, it was just one of those days where they were just always together, almost inseparable. Let's put it that way. There were a few moments towards the end. Lando Norris struggling a little bit with something. Oh, where's my notes? I've lost my notes on that one. But yeah, he was struggling with, he had some issues towards the end, which meant that he was losing a little bit of pace. And then Daniel Ricciardo was kind of closing up and was told not to overtake in the end. So I will see if I find my notes. I did write it down somewhere, what the issue was or what the suspected issue was. So that's a little bit annoying that I can't seem to find it, unless I've written it under something else like Mercedes, which would be, typical Sean, wouldn't it? So I will have a look for that in a bit, or somebody can let me know, but I will have a look for that in a bit and see if I can find out what it was. But yeah, maybe just tyre deg, I don't know, but that kind of forced Ricciardo to back off a little bit. I think that was the right thing to do, though. Big points. McLaren, I don't think they're where they want to be. Norris saying that it's very much track specific, which is not a shocking statement given where they were in the first 2 races, and then boom, they're suddenly a lot quicker here. So it probably is track specific for them, but it's still, to get those points on the board, I think was critical today, because if we go to Imola and then on to Miami and all of that, and they're still struggling and they're off the pace again and they've not resolved their problems and the car's still not where they want it to be, then these points today were critical. So you don't really want to be leaving your drivers to squabble and risk anything there. So I think that's a great call. It's what And I hate saying this because I blooming loved it. I loved it in Jeddah, watching Ocon versus Alonso, as I'm sure many of you did. But it's what Alpine should have done in Jeddah with Alonso and Ocon and told them to either switch positions or hold position because they lost a lot of time there. I think McLaren did the right thing there, just bringing those two home. Michael says Lando was rather downbeat on the F1 interview regarding their actual pace. Yeah, like I say, he said to Sky that it was track specific. Didn't seem quite as... I mean, Daniel Ricciardo was grinning from ear to ear, but I mean, it's home Grand Prix, his first points of the season. When you consider where he was in the early stages of the earlier stages of this season, you could totally understand why he's happy with that one. But yeah, he didn't seem happy. He didn't seem happy at all, Lando, in terms of the outright pace, but very happy with the results. So big points for McLaren today. I will have a look actually shortly and see if I can find out in their press releases, if we get any press releases from them, what the situation is with Norris. I'm assuming it was just tyre deg, because the tyres, I mean, nobody ran their tyres longer than Albon. We'll get to him later, but they were running their tyres a long way today. So that's kind of where we're at with McLaren. I'm going to fly through this. It's the best way to do it, and I will come back to these if we see anything. I'll come to you for comments as well shortly. Fernando Alonso. Actually, I'll do Ocon first. Sorry, he's in P7, isn't he, Esteban Ocon? Some more good points on the board. A little bit similar to the start of last season, actually, if you recall. Esteban Ocon got lots of good early points on the board, and Fernando Alonso kind of had a few struggles. Warren M there saying engine issue for Norris. Thank you very much, Warren. Appreciate that one. I'll see if I can find a quote from him. See if I've got a bit more in there. But yeah, engine issue for Norris apparently. So yeah, but like I say, kind of similar to last year in that Ocon's picked up some good points at the start of the season, and Alonso's not quite. What I'm saying is he's beating Alonso in terms of points early on is what we're trying to get to. But we know that Fernando is pretty damn special as a driver, isn't he? So he'll soon turn that one around, I'm sure. Get himself back in there. Yeah, not really a lot to say on Ocon either. Just relatively quietly getting on with his business is probably the best way to put it for Esteban Ocon today. No real dramas. Kind of right in that mix throughout. 8 seconds off Ricciardo, but 6 seconds, 6 or 7, 6.7, so nearly 7 seconds clear of Valtteri Bottas. So he was kind of comfortable, wasn't he, Ocon? Some good points on the board. I think he'll be pretty happy with that one with Esteban and Fernando Alonso. I just want to cry. I don't really want to cry. That's a massive exaggeration, but how frustrating for Fernando. I mean, that lap, I know, yeah, we talk about laps that never were. People will bring up Jeddah last year with Max Verstappen, the laps that never were. Where would he have been with that lap? I think it was purple in a sector, personal best in another, and then coming through the final few turns up to turn 11. I don't think it was pole, but I think he would have been second row of the grid. I'm pretty confident on that one. And then he, goes into that corner, issue with his car, straight on into the wall, game over. I mean, that's so frustrating. Absolutely gutted for him in qualifying. Then he goes out there today and just kind of, they try something a little bit different. They put him on the hard tyres. I felt he was quite racy on those hard tyres, to be fair. Nice overtake on Gasly into turn 3, lap 19. Didn't pit when the second safety car came out, which was kind of surprising in some ways, given that you never know for sure if you're going to get another safety car, but you don't start on the hard tyres and then drop them that early in the race. So it sort of made sense why they left him out. He then pitted under the virtual safety car, which obviously helped him a little bit, but having already lost out with the second safety car, it kind of screwed him up a little bit, and I just feel a bit from this weekend, actually. And then pitted on lap 54 again. He was struggling with left front graining. It did look quite a mess, actually, on that car. So he pitted on lap 54 for another set of mediums, and that was sort of it for him. 17th, last place on the track. Did go for fastest lap. Was 0.6 off of Charles Leclerc's fastest lap, but I will say his final lap was the second fastest on the track, purple in the first sector by a few hundredths over Charles Leclerc. So he was going for that fastest lap. He wouldn't have got a point because he's outside the top 10, but it was a gamble. They took a gamble. I think it would have paid off had we not had the safety car, if the safety cars not hit when they had, but they did, and that kind of cost him, really. But I think this is a weekend of, and this is a massive cliche, but it's a weekend of what could have been, I think, for Fernando Alonso and Alpine. I know Ocon got some solid points on the board, but, you put Alonso 4th on the grid. The pace that he's got anyway, the pace that seems to be in that car this weekend, could he have picked that podium off Russell? Could he have been there? I know this is all shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's ridiculous to do that because I'm saying this with hindsight as well, but you look at that pace this weekend, and I think Alonso, second row of the grid, could have nicked a podium today with everything that happened. I mean that. And you'll all tell me on crackers, but I think that would have been it. Because he would have started, I think he would have started on the mediums if he'd been higher up the grid. So, yeah. Yes, please do drop a like on the stream, by the way. I'm solo today. We need to get to 500 anyway for Charles Edward Cheese, and we are at 162, so quite a way to go. So if everybody watching, 978, thank you for coming along, by the way. I know in some places it's super late, early hours in the morning. Other places it's mid-morning, and some others it's afternoon. So always appreciated when you pop along. So please do leave a like. Let's see if we can get as close as possible to 500 for Charles Edward Cheese. Might be a challenge today, but I love a challenge. We all love a challenge. Let's go for it. Nothing else to say on Alpine, really. I'll come to chat and see if we've got anything on McLaren and Alpine before we get on to Bottas again in the Alfa Romeo. Thank you very much to DRD Nobody for your super chat. Appreciated, mate, very much. Says Alpine are showing the future of F1. Teams must find their own engines and hope Audi, Porsche and Honda, etc. are competitive. Do you reckon we're going to get Porsche and Audi? DRD, I think Porsche looks pretty much nailed on, doesn't it, for a deal with Red Bull? I'm not convinced. A couple of people said it in the video on Friday, actually, in the comment section, that they're not convinced that VW are going to enter two of their brands because that's going to cost them a fortune. But then other people are saying, but look, Red Bull have shown that PR and all the marketing and all that is hugely beneficial to companies in Formula One. Formula One really helps them with that. So I'm not sure whether we'll see both, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see Porsche. I think that sounds pretty much done. And Christian Horner, let's face it, has been saying some lovely things about them all weekend, and that tends to be something's going on. So, yeah, Nightcrawler says Imola is a balanced track. Yeah, I mean, that could be interesting to see what see where people are on a balanced track. I mean, Spain will be the one for me, where we have a better idea where people were. Thank you very much to AC, member for 16 months. Says Albon did within 3 races what Russell could do in 3 years. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciated. Yeah. Couldn't I get what you mean now in the points? Yeah, picking up a point in his 3rd race. Well, we will get to Albon. I think a lot of people were really happy with that result, and I think a great call from Williams. Fuel issue for Lando, says DMC 56. Ocon couldn't pass Albon though. Yeah, but I think Ocon was struggling with his own issues as well, wasn't he? Again, I'll go and find a press release in a minute, but he was struggling with his issues as well, and I think he was having to stay away, or didn't have the pace to catch Albon in the end, but it didn't matter because Albon had to pit. So there was kind of, I get what you're saying, but there was no point in Ocon chasing down Albon, getting that gap down from 3 or 4 seconds or whatever it was, and then trying to battle with him, only to lose time for Albon to then pit, and it just cost Ocon in the end. So it was sensible just to sit back and let that one unfold, because Albon had to pit, and that's 19-20 seconds. So thank you very much to Emily. Says couple of bob for Solo Warrior Sean. Appreciated. Thank you very much, Emily. I hope you got your pastries. I hope you picked me up a cinnamon swirl. I don't know how you'd deliver it. Please don't send it in the post. It'd be disgusting by the time it got here. But yeah, always appreciate it. Thank you very much, Emily. Strange to have a GP on during the day and be doing that in early evening, 6:30 p.m. here, rather than late night, early morning Aussie time zone. Absolutely. I love them. I love the early mornings. I've seen so many people moan about it, but I love it. It's done. I can go and, I was going to say do something productive, but I'll probably just put a film on and fall asleep. And that's not because I'm tired. That's because I'm 36. Old before my time, definitely. Yeah, that's fair with Ocon. Says on track. Nightcrawler Andretti is waiting until one of the big dogs join. Yeah, I'm not sure on the Andretti thing. I'd like them to, definitely. And I'm going to have a couple of more looks here, just see if there's anything on Alpine and McLaren specifically. If you've got any, I can see a few questions. If you've got any, save them for a little bit later, because we'll do a good Q&A sesh a little bit later in the stream. The Ginger Cheese says Sainz saying the anti-store kicked in. I think that was one of the speculations in commentary, so that makes sense. Thank you very much for that one. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. I think I've covered most of this on the other bits, but we'll move on. Let's go to AlphaTauri then. Biggest note for me on AlphaTauri is essentially that they both kind of got screwed over by the safety car at one point, didn't they? So they pitted. I don't know, did both of them pit just before, or was it just one of them? I haven't got the thing in front of me. Have a look at it. But at least one of them, let's say both of them, pitted just before the safety car came out, and then of course that really hampered them because everybody else gets to pit a lot more cheaply, and that cost them. Let's just have a look here. So Gasly pitted on lap 21 and Tsunoda pitted on lap 18. So yeah, they both pitted sort of just before the safety car. That's what saw them well down the field. I think they were 16th-ish, 16th, 17th in there at one point during the race. I thought this is going to be difficult for them, but I think Gasly did a good job. Managed to get himself through into the points in P9. A couple of points on the board, important points on the board actually. Lock up into turn 13, which put him wide, and that sort of cost him a position to Bottas, so could have been P8 there. That was a fun scrap actually, wasn't it? That DRS train behind Lance Stroll got quite exciting at times and a little bit over the line, some might say. Also an overtake on Lance Stroll around the outside of turn 1 on lap 50 for P9. So some big moves in there for Gasly, but also a big mistake which cost him a position, which is going to be frustrating for him. There would have been a couple of points more, so they'd have been level on points with Haas. So it's not too catastrophic, but still, you know, knowing as we do Pierre Gasly, yeah, he'll be frustrated with that one, definitely. Yuki Tsunoda. Couple of bits on Yuki Tsunoda. So he pitted on just before the safety car, like I say, and that cost him as well. But also he was summoned to the stewards to do with a safety car restart infringement. Now, we have had a decision on that one. So if you didn't see it, there was some concern that he might have been accelerating and braking a little bit too much. And Mick Schumacher very nearly went into the back of him on the start-finish straight. He's car number 22, isn't he, is Yuki Tsunoda? He is indeed. So near collision behind the safety car was the investigation. They've decided no further action. Drivers heard from Mick Schumacher and Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly. It says the drivers were in line on the main straight behind a safety car and with lights on. Cars were accelerating and decelerating to keep tyre and brake temperatures up in anticipation of the restart. Gasly slowed in reaction to the car in front. Tsunoda also slowed in reaction. Mick Schumacher was closer to Tsunoda as he slowed while trying to maintain the 10 car length maximum separation specified in the regulations and had to move left and overtake Tsunoda while braking to avoid colliding with him. So essentially they've decided that none of them were in breach of the regulation, but did say that the speed and braking it is clear that the speed and braking capabilities of F1 cars, especially while trying to maintain required temperatures in tyres and brakes, are in tension with the 10 car length separation behind the safety car traditionally specified in the regulations. And they've gone on to say this needs to be pointed out in a point of emphasis in further driver briefings to ensure drivers collectively agree on how best to address this challenge before an unfortunate incident occurs. So it sounds like there's going to be another sit down with the drivers ahead of the next briefing or in the next briefing where they're essentially going to say, you know, this braking and accelerating and the 10 car rule, just be careful, which is an interesting one for the stewards. I'm trying to think of the last time I read an FIA steward decision document that put apart from the FIA report, obviously, but that put a recommendation in there for the next driver's briefing. I'm trying to think of the last time that happened. So that's an interesting one. Maybe it happens more often and I don't always read to the bottom. You're probably going to tell me it's in literally every single release, Sean. Come on, wake up. But that's an interesting one. Maybe if it isn't, then maybe it's a new race direction thing. Just ideas to say, look, you know, next race we need to talk about this because that could be a nasty accident behind a safety car. Cars shouldn't be crashing into each other behind a safety car. I know accidents happen, but that was quite the moment. So no further action for Tsunoda, no further action therefore for Gasly or for Mick Schumacher. So they are all cleared under that investigation. So that sorts that one out. But yeah, thank you very much, Jonathan. Says Albano Australia driver of the century. Discuss. We'll get there. Jonathan, I know everyone's excited about Albon picking up that point. So, yes, we will get there. I promise we're not far off now off of him. Siggy Brick says, Tsunoda is a dangerous driver. Schumacher lucky to avoid the crash. Excuse me. I didn't know that was in my bloody throat there. No, I don't think... I'm not putting a huge blame on him for that. As the race steward's decision says, you know, all of them were accelerating and braking to keep heating the tyres, and then they got caught out by the cars ahead, and then you've instantly... All it takes is for... I'm not saying he did, but all it takes is for a Gasly to hit the brakes a bit too hard, and then you've just got this concertina effect behind it. It's just going to be... Everybody's going to be getting close to slamming into the back of everybody. So I think from a safety point of view, they need to talk about it and make sure they just chill out a little bit, but at the same time, drivers need to try and maximise temperatures in the tyres, don't they? So they're always going to do it. So I don't think I blame him for that one. Yeah. Am I alone in that? I feel like I'm a little bit alone in that one now for saying that. No. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's roll on. When do we get to Tsunoda and Gasly? Like I said, a couple of points. It's good points for AlphaTauri. They've been an interesting one at the start of this season. I've not got to Bottas yet. Dumb thing science. I'm about to get there, mate. We're nearly there, I promise, on Bottas, and then we'll go on to your Albons and co. But yeah, I think it's a good couple of points. They needed them, but they've had a bit of an up and down start to the season, I feel like, with AlphaTauri. I don't know why. We came out of pre-season testing and they were looking okay. And I thought, maybe they're going to be right in that midfield fight. And maybe it's unfair to say they haven't been because, every time we look at DRS trains in these first couple of races, they always seem to be sort of in there. But they had some bad luck as well with Tsunoda, didn't they? And whatnot in Jeddah. So looking forward to see if they got a bit more pace in that car, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. Maybe they should prevent braking on the straights, says Vesk. Yeah. And Carmen says it was just a domino effect, spot on. That's exactly it. It's just the domino effect. It's always going to happen. But can you stop the braking on the straights? I suppose you can. You just say don't brake on the straights, and that's the rule, and you get a penalty if you do. But yeah, it was a tricky one for AlphaTauri this weekend. I'll try and stop saying but yeah. When I run out of what I'm trying to say or I forget what I'm going to say, that's just my default position. So apologies. But yeah, Valtteri Bottas in 8th place. Again, I think he's been brilliant this start to the season. Kind of so relaxed, so chill. Just get out there, does the job. He's bossing that team. Really impressed with him. Gutted for him yesterday. Didn't quite get the lap in to keep his run of 7 million Q3 appearances or top 10 appearances going. But still, not an awful qualifying for him. Some nice bits for him. Nice move on Tsunoda. DRS into turn 1, I believe that is, on lap 11, or is that lap 16? I can't remember handwriting. At some point, also made a nice move on Stroll as well on lap 5, but was squeezed out by Stroll at turn 3. It did look like a late move from Lance Stroll, I think, but at the same time, I don't think it was all locked up, crazy, mad, stupid move. I think it was just a late opportunistic move, and it resulted in Bottas getting a little bit squeezed out wide. The stewards did investigate it, but they decided not to go ahead with that one. So I don't think there was much in it, if I'm being honest. I'm surprised it was looked at all by the stewards. I don't feel it was necessary. I think that was aggressive, late, but not really any worse than we've seen from anywhere else at times. So I think that would have been really unfair or harsh on Stroll to slap him with a penalty for that one. But we'll get to Stroll obviously in a minute. But it was fun to see Bottas racing again today. I kind of feel like I think it was Bottas that seemed to be involved in the most action, if that makes any sense at all. If you get what I'm saying, I kind of feel like every time we went to that midfield, Bottas was trying a move or was right behind another car or was fighting off another car. And I think he was pretty racy, and I'm really pleased to see him get those points on the board and kind of build on that great start to the season. I am just waffling, Annette. Hello. Is it weird listening to it this time of the day, Annette? Down in Australia, or is it just weird anyway, listening to that one? So yeah. Twigster says he's by himself today, so it's just normal from Sean. Yeah, pretty much. I apologise. And Mario says, don't brake on the straights. Use a car in front if you have to emergency stop. Very good, Mario. Yeah, that's maybe what they need to try and avoid, if possible. There you go. Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu, apologies. Yep, P11 today. So Bottas was what? Bottas was only 6-7 off. Ocon was sort of 7 seconds, 8 seconds nearly clear of Gasly, so he was okay. Zhou was actually only 2.3 seconds off a point in the end. Very close to Albon. We haven't seen the replays yet, or I haven't. Very close to Albon at the pit exit point where Albon managed to hang on for 10th place. So possibly, I'm not going to say unlucky. I think that was just great play from Williams, but I think had a shot at a point today. Didn't really come off, but I think Zhou's had a much better start to the season than I think people were expecting, and I think than people are giving credit for. Nice. Oh, no, that's not what it says at all. I'm reading the wrong one. In the DRS train, which was kind of behind Stroll, wasn't it, for much of that second half of the race or the latter stages of the race, and kind of got caught up in that. And problem with the DRS train is that everyone has DRS, so it's difficult to overtake. So couldn't do that one. He just a bit like Bottas. Always seemed to be in amongst it through that race, and also a nice overtake on Fernando Alonso, turn 1 on lap 52 for P12. So that was as Alonso started to go backwards, though. There you go. I don't think Zhou's done bad. I think he gets a lot of flack because I think a lot of people think Piastri should be in that seat. I think a lot of people instantly think pay driver means they're trash, and I don't think he is at all. He's impressed me so far. I think he's done better than I expected, and I think people should lay off a little bit, if I'm being honest. It's just my view. I think Zhou's been all right. I don't think he's not blown me away at all. Good, yeah, Warren there. I mean, that's exactly it today. Zhou had a nice clean race today, or a really clean race today, which is what he needs to do. He's not in a car that's going to be challenging for wins and podiums. We know that. He's still finding his feet in Formula One and at that team. And so the best thing he can do is just keep it clean, keep it tidy, do what he has been doing a few times this season at points in races, follow his teammate a bit. I know they end up a little bit apart at the end of Grand Prix, but they kind of always seem to be in that mix in the midfield, and keep doing that, and he's just going to keep getting better. That's kind of how I feel about Zhou. There you go. Zhou is defying the label of pay driver, which is his job, says Wingcap. Zhou is doing better job than a certain someone who got booted out, says Alex K. Yeah, I think we know, don't we, who that's about. Zhou is better than Latifi, says Siggy Brick. Zhou is doing good for a rookie. We need to give him more time. He could be all right, says Tom. And Zhou don't get into silly crashes like Latifi and Stroll, says Ryan. I think good point there from Tom is that he's a rookie. He's the only rookie, so he's already rookie of the year. So well done to him for that. But 3 races in, it's really unfair to be going, he's trash. Let's give him a few races. He's one of those that I think you leave. I think give rookies the first half of the season before you start tearing into them if they've been terrible. But I don't think Zhou's been terrible at all. I think he's been all right. He's been all right as Zhou. Have I got any super chats? Let's have a look before we move on. I don't think so. Thank you to Oz. Actually, we have there. Says, shame that Fernando didn't try the Albon strategy today. I wonder where he would end up. Also, what a dominant win from Charles despite that restart cock-up he had. Thank you very much, Oz, for your contribution there over on Streamlabs. Yeah, again, I won't keep going about Charles. I think we know he was pretty good today. Yeah, it's a good point actually on Alonso. I did wonder if they might try that because they'd left him out after those safety cars. I thought they might try and push him as long as possible, but I don't know. It just didn't work for him today, and I'm just bloody annoyed. I think Alonso's one of them drivers I want to see at the front fighting for wins and podiums, and maybe that's a little bit much to ask, but it would be nice, wouldn't it? Just to see him up there again. And if he wants to do 2 or 3 more years, I think Alpine are doing the right stuff at the moment to keep him in that one. And I think they'd be mad at the minute not to sign him up for another year or 2. 250 likes, by the way, so far. So we are halfway to that 500 if we can for Charles Edward Cheese. It is a big ask, like I say, but please do drop a like. Don't forget subscribers as well. Lots to come over the next few days, weeks, months, hopefully years. As long as you want, really. There you go. As long as somebody's listening, I'm always going to be here waffling at somebody. So, yeah, let's... where are we? Where was I at? Williams. Let's do Williams then. You all want me to talk Albon. I can't think why. He got a point. I don't think anybody gave Williams a shot at a point this weekend. So, congratulations to them. I mean, look, great strategy. And great... Not just great strategy from Williams, but great execution from Albon of that strategy, if that makes sense. So they've obviously gone into that race and said, look, this hard tyre, if we run it properly and look after it, it'll run the entire race. They already knew, and Albon said it after again in the Sky commentary, that for some reason the Williams really like the hard tyre, and the hard tyre seemed to like the Williams, so it was crazy not to run with that as long as possible. And he managed to manage the tyres. He had good pace. He wasn't falling away off any kind of crazy cliff or anything on those tyres before he stopped. He was still putting in good laps. That's great execution. And they pit him. Obviously a good in-lap. Obviously a very good out-lap because he was 2.3 seconds clear of Zhou, who was only 3/10 behind him as they came out of the pit lane. So what? That's a 2 seconds in a lap that he pulls out. Absolutely fantastic from Williams. Fantastic from Albon. And I'm kind of blown away a little bit by them. I know that, a point might not sound all that exciting, but when you look at where Williams were in those first 2 races, they're not where they want to be, and I don't think they're really, without a bit of luck or, as we saw today, some good play on strategy, they're probably not regular points contenders at the moment. That could change as development kicks in, of course. Don't forget that resets in June, so if Williams are towards the bottom, they might get some more development time in the second half of the year, but I'm just kind of really shocked to see them in the points. And I think a point is like a victory for them at the moment, given where they are. And they are the 9th team to score points this year. So they've only got one more team left to score. So massive, massive congratulations to Williams for that one. Great, massive credit as well. Forget kudos, just credit to Williams for that, and credit to Albon for making that work. So kind of blown away a little bit by that one, like I say. And I think that Albon's got the measure, hasn't he, of Nicholas Latifi at the moment. That might change, of course, as the season goes on. I don't think it will by much, but yeah, well done to Alex Albon. See what else they've got. So close to the back of Ricciardo after Ricciardo stopped. I don't know why I've written that down. I just had. Good start as well from Albon, which is worth a note, definitely. And don't forget as well, actually, I've just realised, I've written it at the bottom of my notes. He was disqualified from qualifying, so he started from the back of the grid. So that is actually a last 2 point for Albon. So I guess that's kind of another point to make there, is that Williams could afford to take that gamble. So Alonso started on the hard and they could have run him really, really long, but he was kind of in that mix in the midfield, and it would have been maybe a little bit ambitious or a little bit too much of a risk for Alpine to run him right to the end on those, like they did with Albon at Williams. But with Albon being last, you've got nothing to lose, have you? Stick on the hards, tell him to just look after them, stay out there, push it as long as you can. Boom, you're going to get a result if everything works. So I think I kind of get why people might say Alonso should have gone with that one, but I understand why Alpine didn't want to risk that one. It would have been a gamble, but superb from him. And I think he's done it's a good way to bounce back after a disappointing end to his race in Jeddah, because he was right on the cusp of points again, wasn't he, in Saudi Arabia, and then had that move on Stroll, which I've watched it back a lot. We did this live, didn't we? Me trying to work out whether I thought it was a penalty or not. I've watched the onboards. I've watched it back. I think a penalty is still incredibly harsh for Alex Albon in Jeddah. I do. So it's kind of nice for him to come back here and deliver a really strong performance. Like I say, all right, strategy's done it, but still a great performance and pick up a point. And as somebody just said in chat there, Max, he was 7th at one point. And I think when he was 7th and I was looking at the timing screens, I'm sure I'm not alone here, and they were saying I still need to pit. I was thinking, well, he's going to lose. He's going to drop down sort of 12th, 13th place here, and that's kind of it. Maybe if they bring him in a little bit earlier, a couple of laps to go, he could try and smash a couple of positions and get himself back in it. But I didn't. A great stop, obviously, from Williams. I've not seen the pit stop times, actually. I don't know if they're in the... let's have a look, actually, see if they're on the F1 website yet. They sometimes have them up in time. No, not yet. So I don't know what his pit stop time was, but obviously a very good one. If he's able to get out with... It must have been pretty much 19 and a half seconds clear of Zhou to get that 10th place. So it must have been right down to it was, like I say, 3/10 when they came out of the pit. So it was right down to it, wasn't it? It's like, yeah, really happy. I can't stop smiling. Just really pleased to see Williams pick up something early in the season. And I think they'll get the car sorted. I'm not expecting them to turn up to the midpoint of the season or after the summer break with a car that's suddenly a regular points challenger and they're fighting for top-end points and maybe they're back in the midfield. I don't think we'll see that, but I think they will improve as the season goes on. Development's going to be huge this year. They might find something which gives them an edge over those around them, but it's a point on the board. It's one more than Aston Martin have, and I think they'll be very, very proud with that one. Nikolai says Williams struggled with the front left in the pit stop for Albon. I didn't see that. I think we're too busy focusing on other things, but that's an interesting point there. So if they were struggling, they probably had a little bit more time in hand as well, didn't they? Thinking about it. So that's an interesting one. Jack said the pit stop wasn't great, so thank you very much for guys pointing that one out. I didn't get to see that on the live feed unless I completely missed it. So some issues with the left front. So actually, yeah, I'll step back a little bit, take a breath, and just essentially say that he clearly had more than enough time in hand, and maybe just that sloppy pit stop. Oh, it would have only taken another half a second and it's game over. I think Ted said he nearly runs, or Simon Lazenby said he nearly runs somebody over or ran somebody over. I don't know if that's true. Again, I've not seen it, so great stuff from Albon. Nicholas Latifi. Yeah, moving on. I don't know what to say about Nicholas Latifi. 3 race weekends, 3 crashes, a team that has got a better budget than they've had in the past, but don't have a lot of money, and now having to had to rebuild another car after his crash in Jeddah and his crash in Bahrain. I mean, did he crash in Bahrain, or was it 2 crashes in Jeddah? sure Latifi crashed in Bahrain somewhere. I can't remember now. I'm sure he did. I'll have a look in a minute. Have a look at the results. But yeah, not a great start to the season for Latifi at all. Expensive. I put it somewhere on my notes actually. Expensive weekend for them. Absolutely expensive weekend and frustrating weekend for Latifi. So it was 2 in Jeddah, was it, Adam? Yes, thank you very much. I knew he had 3, but I couldn't remember if he crashed in Bahrain or not. So thank you, Adam. 2 crashed in Jeddah. So that's 3 crashes in 2 weekends, which is. I don't know. See, I defend Latifi quite a bit. I think he actually did okay last season. A lot of people said it was trash. I think he did okay. Absolutely shocking start to this year. I've got nothing to say on his race, unless you'd like to know that he pitted on lap 13. So, nothing to say on his race. We can talk about that qualifying incident, though, because that'll lead us nicely onto... Well, it won't lead us nicely onto them at all, because that'll be last that we talk about. But yeah, the incident, I think a bit of a weird one in qualifying. I think the penalty for Stroll is probably fair. He ought to be checking his mirrors in that situation a little bit more. He does make quite a strong, if you want to call it that, or clear move across the track quite late there as Latifi's already pulling alongside him. That was all miscommunication. That was all just an absolute mess. And Stroll got slapped with the penalty, which I think is probably fair after qualifying. And I'm sure people will disagree, but I think, yeah, I don't know what to say. Oh, Nicholas Latifi. I'm just looking at chat. Ryan says I'm faster than Latifi. I might hold you to that. I'll see if I can get you an F1 car to have a go in, and we'll see how we go. Yeah, I don't know. I've got nothing else to say on that crash. I just found it weird. I thought the whole thing in qualifying was weird, and that was hugely costly, both financially for the team and in many other ways as well. I don't know. Let's just roll on then. Haas, Mick Schumacher, 13th, Magnussen 14th. Where's their pace gone? What's this about? What's this? Come on, Haas. You were our Cinderella story of this season, and you've gone and let us down this weekend. Yeah, great. First of all, great to see Mick Schumacher back in the car after what happened in Jeddah. So really, really good to see him back out there. Magnussen was quite. In fact, both of them were quite racy today. I've got quite. Not a lot of notes, just my handwriting is really big, but I think I have more under them than I do anybody else. So Magnussen, Schumacher, as we say, was nearly into the back of Tsunoda at the safety car restart. Magnussen was almost in the back of Tsunoda at turn 10 when he went across the grass and managed to get control of his car and rejoined. He said over the team radio that was my bad, so taking full responsibility for that one. So both of them nearly in the back of an Alfa Tauri, which is, there you go, maybe just there's something magnetic in the back of Tsunoda's car for Haas's, I don't know. Nearly. No, maybe not. Maybe not. Ignore me. I was going to say something there, but it's not. It's not worth it. But yeah, so some nice moves from Mick. Some nice moves from Magnussen. Like I say, just generally quite racy. I'm just trying to look at specifics in the notes, but it is just overtaken. Pretty much. He did have a moment, did Mick Schumacher, where he went wide on the grass in, I think it was turn 1, which would have cost him some time and lost him a position. Yeah, deep into turn 13 on lap 46. And Alonso got past him after that. That was a lock-up as well. So a couple of sloppy moments from Mick Schumacher, I suppose, is what I'd take away from those notes there. But I think he did an all right job today. And again, I think important for Haas that, you know, he was able to race, obviously, first and foremost, which of course he would have been fit to race in Jeddah, but they chose not to. But it was, you know, he's there to race. Managed to be involved in some stuff. Out-qualified K-Mag, I seem to think. But he definitely outraced him today to take 13th place and no damage. So I think that was the key for Haas this weekend, because they had no spare parts, they were saying, pretty much. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with Mick Schumacher. Magnussen, I said about Tsunoda, he's sort of responsible for that. Didn't stop. Did start on hard tyres, didn't stop during the second safety car, which again probably cost him quite a bit there as well, because I think he was running top 10, sort of 7th, 8th, wasn't he, at one point? So that was through the safety car periods and not pitting, which cost him. So he did get to pit under the VSC though, which probably took a little bit of that pain away. But I don't think they really had the pace today, Haas, to do much with that, to be fair. And I'd like to see them a little higher. Like to see them get some points. I'd like to see Mick up there. Would have been nice to see him get a point on the board, but yeah, it's not really happened for them. just frustrating after those first 2 races. But there's still, 10, 12 points on the board so far Haas this season, which is 12 more than he scored last year. So, it's still going much better for them. So hopefully they'll get some pace in Imola. I think Gunther Steiner was asked about this. I think it was yesterday after qualifying, where's your pace gone? And he sort of said, it's not gone anywhere. We just haven't really optimized the car this weekend. And, we're not as competitive as we'd like to be, but the pace is still there. So hopefully when we do get to Imola, they will be absolutely fine and be right in there. So there you go. I heard K-Mag was vomiting on Thursday or Friday, says Ryan Lee. Yeah, he had, I don't know if he was, conflicting reports on this. Some saying he was and some saying he just felt unwell. Either way, he wasn't too good. Missed his media duties on Friday morning, but still got out there and he got out there racing, didn't he? But I think it was more about not optimizing the car from Haas rather than Kevin Magnussen feeling a bit under the weather. So I'll read the press releases. In fact, we're going to have a quick look now before we get onto Aston Martin, because that was a Danny says she's not nodding off, not reflecting on Sean, just can't do early mornings. Thank you very much, Danny. I hope we're not boring people too much. I know it's a bit tricky listening to me talk crap for an hour and a half when I'm on my own with nobody to butting and tell me to shut up, but yeah, who cares? Who cares? It's a Sunday morning. We've had a Grand Prix race. It's a great way to start the day, as I said on Thursday, having cars on track. So, I'm not bothered. I'll sit here all day and talk. I won't, because I will eventually fall asleep. So K-Mag said, disappointed not to get points today. We gambled on the hard tyre, but the safety car ruined the strategy. The starting setup wasn't good, and we were struggling with tyres on the new tarmac, but we were able to turn things around, and Haas F1 team will score points next time. Gunther Steiner says he's confident that they will bounce back. It didn't work out as we planned today. As I said, this year we've got a car that can score points. We just had a difficult weekend. It's one of 3 which was difficult. We go again in Imola. That's a good point. 2 good races, 1 not so good. Not bad from Noah. Mick Schumacher says, I think in terms of pace, we were not too far off. It's just unfortunate there's not a huge amount of passing opportunities here. And I'll just have a look for those teams that we've already done. Alfa and Mayo, let's see what they're saying. Bringing home points for a top 10 finish is really good, especially the bounce back after the off race in Jeddah. That's from Frederick Vasseur. Timing of the first safety car wasn't ideal, and it cost us track position, which I think we've kind of seen with a few drivers, especially with Zhou, and they got stuck in a couple of DRS trains. Valtteri Bottas really enjoyed the race. Good performance, close racing and battles from beginning to end. I said he was in the mix with quite a good things, which, quite a good bit of action for him. I like seeing Bottas involved. Happy with the calls that were made and how he raced, and definitely the thinner wing that penalised us yesterday turned out to be the right choice and help us make progress. So there you go. Thin wing, better for the race than it was for qualifying, so that's good. Said he had a fun day as well. So he looked like he was having fun. He did look like he was having fun. And Guan Yu says, I'm proud of my race. But obviously I'm a bit upset at missing out on points for such a close margin. Our pace was good, but we lost a few positions with the safety car, and that made work a lot harder. Solved the problem at the start, and the race was good. So they've sorted the issue with their race starts, which is fantastic. So that helped him out there. Looking back at the first 3 rounds in Formula One, and my worst result is 11th, so I can build on that positive start, aiming to score points every race. I didn't even realise that. So Zhou's worst result is 11th, and people are still saying he's terrible. There you go. Sergio Perez, good race. Unfortunately lost Max. Complicated race. Not really much in here that isn't your typical PR stuff. Got a few things wrong across the weekend, and we were battling more with Mercedes and Ferrari, so the pace wasn't where we want it to be, but we'll work on it. There is some good analysis to be done from this weekend, because yesterday we were close for pole, but in the race we were a bit too far off on the pace. Max Verstappen, disappointed not to finish the race. Obviously, he's going to say that. He's not going to sit there and say, I'm thrilled I didn't finish, I got to go and have a bath. Is he? He's not exactly going to say that one. This is not what you need when you want to fight for the championship. The gap is already pretty big. And then obviously goes on to congratulate Sergio Perez. Alpha Tauri, I'll not read them all. I'm just looking for any notes that jump out from the press release. It's had a nice battle with Lance, says Sergio Gasly. Who the hell is Sergio Gasly? It's Chris Albon all over again. Sergio Gasly, that's his new name. Nice battle with Stroll, which was fun. Tough weekend for them, but points is obviously a positive for them. Wasn't any pace, according to Yuki Tsunoda. We struggled for the whole race, so we need to work out why to avoid something like this happening again. Home Grand Prix, of course, for them next weekend, or one of them for this year, so that could be a good opportunity for them. Very difficult to keep up with the cars, and stay in their DRS is what he's saying. And anything on Williams? What's Alex Albon saying? Very pleased, obviously, with how today went. We came into this morning, looked at our race predictions, started from last, and felt pretty sad. So to end Sunday with a point is extremely rewarding. Car just felt better and better with the tyres felt better and better. They got them in a nice window as the race went on. Continuous qualifying laps for 25 laps of the race. Bloody hell, Alex. Yeah. Nothing that I don't think we haven't heard in press conferences already. And Nicholas Latifi, just to round this off before we get to Aston Martin, there was a lot going on with multiple safety cars and virtual safety cars. Definitely a tricky race, but we were expecting that after FP2's high fuel running that we did. Seemed that we struggled with the tyres quite a lot, which is interesting. So Albon's saying he was enjoying the tyres. Latifi saying they weren't working, but every driver is different, I guess. Thank you to Andre as well for your contribution over on PayPal. I really appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. So yeah, that's just a quick run through the press releases. Let's talk about Aston Ruddy Martin then. I wanted to leave them to last because I've not got anything to do other than moan about them, quite frankly, and I don't like moaning about teams too much. I know I like a good whinge. It's just who I am. Oh, I'm going to have a drink first, actually, if that's okay. Having run through those press releases. So I suppose to start off on Aston Martin quickly, I don't think this weekend could have been any worse. Maybe I'm being pessimistic. I don't know. I don't think it could have been any worse. So they both crashed in FP3, which left the team with a big enough rebuild on Lance Stroll's car. And then they had to rebuild a lot of Vettel's car after his crash in FP3. They managed to get Stroll back out, only for Stroll then to go and wreck his car with Latifi in qualifying, which meant they had to rebuild a few bits again, or repairs on that right front. Vettel then managed to get out in qualifying. I don't think did a bad job actually on Saturday in qualifying, given that that car probably wasn't set up properly or ideally how they'd like it to be, and they just rushed a rebuild and he had one lap to go for it, and I think he did all right. And then goes into the race and bins it on the exit of turn 4. So how many is that? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 crashes across one weekend for Aston Martin during the cost cap era, and following a hell of a busy first 3 races. I mean, what a shocker of a weekend. And what a shocker of a season, actually. They've not scored. I know they lost Vettel for the first 2 races because of COVID, and that kind of threw Nico Hülkenberg in at the deep end a little bit. And there were, Stroll versus Albon in Jeddah. Stroll could have had points there if it wasn't for that. So I understand there are things that have gone wrong for them that aren't necessarily their fault. But really sucks to see them struggling so much. I thought they'd be right up in that midfield again this season. It just has not worked at all for them. Absolutely bit of a joke, really, isn't it, when you think about it? But 5-second penalty as well in the race for Stroll, which didn't help him at all. Expensive and shocking is what I've put for them as well. Expensive and shocking from Aston Martin in these first 2 races. The 5-second penalty, by the way, I'm just trying to read my notes, was for weaving on the straight. It was less about, they said weaving, but really it was 2 changes of position whilst trying to defend against Bottas, and you shouldn't be moving across the track twice like that. So that's a slam dunk penalty all day long. So no great surprise there. His second penalty, of course, the weekend following that one that he got after qualifying. So yeah, crap from Aston Martin, quite frankly. I'm really surprised by how bad they were, and Sebastian Vettel saying it was difficult to judge the car under braking. Oh, terrible. Let's have a look at their press release, actually, because there might be some quotes in there. If I've had it, I have. It's usually the first one to come through, actually, Aston, to be fair. I want to see if Seb Vettel's sort of elaborated on that with it. So he says, my lack of race experience with the car did not help today. So I think cut Seb a little bit of slack this weekend. That is his first weekend in the car. And I think he said to Sky afterwards he was expecting he was asking too much of the car this weekend. He was expecting more from it, and it just wasn't delivering. So, in fact, he says there, I was pushing a little bit too hard, and I lost the car on the curbs at turn 4 and could not prevent the impact, which is very frustrating. Every lap in race conditions counts because this was my first time racing the car, so it is a shame not to have completed the race. We know that the car is challenging, but we are continuing to search for solutions to add more performance. Things didn't go our way this week. And then Lance Stroll, slightly lengthy quote, I won't read it all, did not quite have the pace for points today. I think we had the right idea with our strategy. I'll come to that in a second, by running the majority of the race on a hard tyre, but we will look over the data and see what else we can learn. 5-second penalty was frustrating, even though it did not change our final race position. Caught Bottas under virtual safety car and made up a place. So it was frustrating to receive a penalty for weaving. I also want to say thank you to the team once again. Everybody did a tremendous job to get the cars repaired this weekend. Actually, Mike Crack said, didn't he? He came out quite publicly and got behind the team and said that the mechanics are the unsung heroes of Formula One, which I think is a nice thing to say. Actually, I think they could have done what they could do with that little boost after what's been a very busy weekend for them. But just on the Aston Martin strategy, Crofty didn't get it. He didn't see what they were doing, and I don't know if anybody else missed that as well, but I thought it was genius what they did at the start. It seems so obvious, but obviously in Formula One, you've got to run both compounds of tyres in a dry race. So they started on the hard tyre. Safety car came out, so they decided to bring Lance Stroll in, pitted him, put the mediums on, and then did a lap under the safety car, and then that next lap brought him in and put the hard tyres on again, which meant he could go to the end of the race because he'd done the pit stop he needed to switch onto the other compound. So he kind of managed to do his pit stops, run both compounds, and not lose any time. That was genius from Aston, and I'm going to say it now, they would have had points without that 5-second penalty. Now, Stroll was quite a way off points in the end. However, he was ahead of... Was he 9th? I think he was 9th, so he was ahead of cars. It was difficult to overtake. I think that he could have hung on for at least 1 point in that race. It would have been tough. It would have been very, very tough, but we've already seen he was aggressive in defence. So without that 5-second penalty, he may well have pinched a point there. So that's really frustrating for Aston, but it's a shame Dan's not here, because he loves it when Aston do that and they run long or they get clever with strategy. But that was the best thing they could do today. It was worth the risk, and it very, very nearly paid off. So frustrating for Stroll that didn't work, but also at the same time, don't move direction twice on the straight, because you are just going to get penalised for that one. And it's not necessarily the same as breaking the toe. I know race control don't like that. Bottas was way too close for that to be breaking the toe, so there you go. Didn't he get told to push as hard as he could and then immediately get picked off? Says Keith. Probably. He got told. I thought they were going to pit him. When they said push hard now, I thought they were going to pit him, maybe put the softs on and sort of eight laps-ish to go, maybe try and pick off some of those drivers ahead of him on those really soft tyres, but it didn't work out. Kind of disappointed that aside from Albon for that last lap, we didn't see the soft tyres today, because I thought that would have been a really good strategy thing. But that is the field, I think. If I've missed anything, again, I'm on my own, so I'm bound to have missed something. I will come to you in Q&A and you can throw those ideas at me. But let's do driver of the day. One surname in chat. I'll read as many as I can. Who is your driver of the day? I get free reign today. This is nice. And it's a free reign. I'm going to be really bloody boring. It's Charles Leclerc for me. I don't think that's going to come as too much of a surprise. I think there are drivers out there. I think Alex Albon deserves a nod. I'm sure chat are going to tell me it's Alex Albon. I think he deserves a nod for what was a very good strategy from Williams. I think George Russell for capitalising on things falling his way there. I think he deserves that as well. I think Bottas was strong today, definitely. But for me, it has to be Leclerc. Pole position yesterday, which I know doesn't count towards driver of the day, but still pole position. Led every single lap of the race. Fastest lap. Won it. Absolutely dominated. I can't not give him. If that was Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton, it'd be driver of the day, because it was just a faultless, apart from that tiny little mistake that very nearly cost him big. Not a foot wrong pretty much all weekend from Charles Leclerc. A couple of moments in practice and that, but in terms of the race, not a foot wrong, and absolutely my driver of the day, 100%. But again, honourable mentions, Alex Albon. I'm going to say Bottas as well, yeah, and George Russell, but it's got to be Leclerc. It's got to be Leclerc. He got the official one as well, so at least I'm not completely alone on that one, but I think only by 19%, actually. Let's have a look, actually, who the driver of the day result was. So Charles Leclerc, driver of the day, 19.7%. Perez, 14.8%. Daniel Ricciardo, 9.4%. George Russell, 9.3%. And Alex Albon, 8.2%. So Albon didn't quite... I mean, Daniel Ricciardo was always going to do well, wasn't he? In that poll today, absolutely was. I think Perez is a fair shout as well. So let's see what you guys say. And I'll read a few of these out, and then we'll do some Q&A, and then we'll call it a day. That rhymed. Very, very nice, Sean. Very nice. Ryan, I think. Yeah, Ryan Sharkey, sorry, was the first one in. Says Alex Albon or Alex Alvin. Yep, I think I see where this is going. AJ says Albon. Davidus says Albon. Ilamga says Leclerc. Nikki says Checo. MJ says Albon. Jeremy says Albon. Neil says Albon. On Track says Albon. Easy. Vanessa says Charles. Ryan says Albon. DMC says Albon. I'll tell you, there's an easier way to do this. Napri, Erminator, Kuro all said Albon. Russell for Lewis or Louis, and Josh, and I think I saw another one, Ben as well, saying Russell. Leclerc for Cool 3638.6. I always have to pause before I say your name. Platylobium says Leclerc. Butchered that one, didn't I? Adam says Leclerc as well. LeGreg for Emily. Leclerc for Warren. Ryan Lee's gone with Charles as well. Tom says an easy one for Leclerc. Definitely Albon for Davidus. So there you go. Wingcap Ava Mua, says Albon. Scroll down a little bit further, see what we've got. Seems to be a different but serious. Newt says Russell as well. Daniel Ricciardo. Why not? I mean, no, to be fair, I joke, but Ricciardo did all right. He was only 4 tenths behind his teammate for one reason or another. But, I mean, it's points, isn't it? And he needed points this weekend, so that is good stuff. Let's scroll a bit further, see if we've got anybody else. Lando Norris says Vesk. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know if he did enough for me to give him driver of the day, but 5th place. Led his teammate for much of it. Couple of moves, but yeah, it's just really hard for me to say no to Charles Leclerc. Space says Chockeclair. Oh, poor Charles. Bottas for Carl. I think I put him in my honourable mentions, so I can see that one absolutely. Grosjean says Siggy Brick. Obviously, we need to get that one in. Let's do 3 more then. See if I find somebody. I like to look for serious, but different. So not necessarily Maldonado, for example, but maybe somebody a bit different. But it is essentially, from what I can see, the big ones are Albon. Yeah, Albon, Leclerc, and Russell seem to be the ones that people have gone with. Nobody's saying Checo, I don't think, which is a little bit of a surprise. But then I did kind of gloss over him a little bit there when I was picking driver of the day honourable mentions, didn't I? So what do I know? Yeah, there you go. I think we will just wrap it up there on the driver of the day. Roman says Schumacher. I think beating Magnussen, it's a good day for him. He's definitely not driver of the day for me, but I think that's a fair one. That is fair. I'll call you Platty from now on. That'll make it a bit easier than absolutely destroying your name. Checo did well, absolutely did. And Sean, I know you hate doing this early in the season, but do you think Latifi will be at Williams next year? If not, who? I'll come to that in a minute. Twister, we'll do some Q&A. I just want one more. There you go. Alex can have it. There you go. Checo had some good overtakes. I agree. He did. I don't know if I wrote them all down. I try to write as much down as possible, particularly when I'm trying to waffle through this on my own. It could be what's on the other page. Like you say, I've used a marker pen for some reason, and I can't read what's on the back of the page. It says so maybe it's in there. But yeah, he was in amongst the action, wasn't he? Was Checo. Let's do Q&A then. So any questions, pop them in chat. If I've missed anything, please do pop it in there as well, and I'll give that a read out because I don't want to miss. I think I've got through everything major. I say major. There wasn't a lot major, was there? Verstappen's retirement, Leclerc's driving, and all of that business. But I don't think it was a major incident as such. So not like we've seen in the past. So we'll leave that. Like I say, any questions, we'll go into that. Just give me 2 seconds. I'll just have a quick drink. That was definitely more than 2 seconds. I lied to you all. I'm so sorry. Let's go to that one then from Twixter first. Sean, I know you hate doing this early in the season, but do you think Latifi will be at Williams next year? If not, then who? I mean, honestly, if he carries on the way he is, I don't see how they can keep him, because I know that his backers bring a lot of money, but surely if you're smashing your car up every weekend, there's going to come a point. I think we used to joke about this with Grosjean, didn't we? I think there's going to come a point where the money you're bringing in is less than the money you're having to spend on repairs. I'm not sure that's necessarily the case, but, it could get to that point if it's every weekend. So, like you said, I don't like doing it too early in the season, because I think you've got to give them all a chance. These new regulations, closer racing, mistakes are happening. We've also had 1.5 street tracks. I don't necessarily. I know Albert Park is a park and it is public roads, but it's not a street track in the same way that Monaco and Jeddah were, if that makes sense. So it's kind of half a street track for me, a little bit. I've been properly pedantic on that one. I'm fully aware. So I think get to some proper tracks. Can we say it was a proper track? That's a bit street track, isn't it? In terms of the fact that it's quite narrow. It's not actually a street track, obviously, but then Miami's a street track. Sort of Spain onwards when we get some other tracks. Ignore Monaco. Actually, it's just come to me, Twixter. Sorry, I've just absolutely blown the point here. How many street tracks have we got on this bloody calendar? I was sat here trying to work them out. So you've got Jeddah, Albert Park, Miami, Monaco, Baku, and you could probably throw Canada in there. That's 6 races in this first part of the season that are street tracks. So probably not much hope for Latifi if that's the case there. But yeah, like I say, I don't want to sit here and say get rid of him now. But if he had to go, maybe they could do it, because it sounds like Alonso wants to stay for 2 to 3 more years at Alpine. So if they could maybe do a deal with Williams, maybe get Piastri in that car, perhaps an agreement for the future that maybe Williams take the Renault power unit so they can be sort of their second team. I don't know what the contract situation would say. I think they've got a year or so left on that, but they might be able to say, look, take Piastri for a couple of years, and then end of 2024 or 2023, you can take our power unit, something like that. But maybe Piastri. But I think if I'm going to throw a curveball in there, not Stoff, Nick de Vries, I think he was in the running for that seat. I wouldn't mind seeing him get initially for that seat. I wouldn't mind seeing him get a run out in that car. So they'd be my 2 picks. Or maybe oh no, actually Gasly. Balls to that. Scrap those 2. Pierre Gasly. What am I on about? It has to be Pierre. He's out of contract at the end of this year at AlphaTauri. I don't see Red Bull promoting him. And I know Williams aren't in a great place at the minute, but I still think that Pierre Gasly would be a very good driver to build that team around, and a very good driver to go up alongside Alex Albon, and maybe we'll finally get the question answered that everyone wants the answer to. Albon or Gasly, who should have had that Red Bull seat? Yeah, there you go then. I'll go Gasly. Why not? It's a bit harsh, like I say, early on to be kind of putting that question mark over Latifi, but he's kind of also doing that himself, isn't he, with the way he's performing. So yeah. Now that you've seen the start of the should we try it again? Now that you've seen the start of the year, who do you see as the losers and winners for driver changes? Piastri, Lawson, etc., says Keith. Winners and losers for driver changes. So, that's a tricky one. That's a very tricky one. So obviously Piastri's a loser. That was slightly more aggressive than it needed to be. I'm not calling Piastri a loser. I'm saying that he's lost out in the driver market, because I think there are 3 seats out there that I think he could be in. There you go. So he's definitely, in that regard, he is definitely. I think you could argue Vettel, even though that's a couple of years now. You could argue maybe he's a bit of a loser in that one. Winners, I think Russell is a winner, because even if that Mercedes is only the 3rd fastest car, it's still a damn sight quicker than the Williams, definitely. I think Sainz is a winner from his move from a couple of years ago. I think Albon's made a good shout to go to Williams. It's a tough question, but that's kind of, yeah. I don't know. That feels like a video. I'll take that, Keith, and try and run with that. That sounds like a video. I need a bit of time to ponder that one. I think I saw you say actually a minute ago, Keith, that maybe Gasly would be looking at Hamilton's seat. Could be an option. I think Gasly deserves. I hate the word deserves, because you don't deserve anything, you earn it. But I could see him getting a shot somewhere like a Mercedes if they need a driver, or a Ferrari if they needed a driver. But I don't think Hamilton will retire at the end of the year. He's got another year on his contract anyway, hasn't he? I know he can leave when he wants. Don't have to fulfill a contract if he doesn't want to. But but I think he'll stay. Russell will stay. I think Ferrari will stay the same. My gut tells me Red Bull will stay the same as well. So if there aren't many seats opening up anywhere else, then it might have to be Williams if Gasly wants to stay in F1. But obviously F1 isn't the be-all and end-all. I'm sure he can find some places to race elsewhere. Formula E seems to be where everybody ends up at the minute. Formula E or IndyCar would be good. Like Gasly in IndyCar could be good fun. Would Albon have been disqualified if he didn't pit, or is it a time penalty? Says Ankit. I think, because this was, they were discussing in commentary, didn't they? I think that's a disqualification. Race result is final, by the way. The race result is on screen, so that's all sorted. Just to confirm that one. So let's have a look at I don't know if I can get through the regulations on a stream. Because it'd be about 9 hours long, but I believe, or my feeling is that it would be a disqualification, because you've not followed the rules of the race. You have to run both compounds of tyre, and if you don't do that, you've effectively cheated because you've not made a mandatory pit stop. So I feel like that should be a black flag, a disqualification, but I'm going to have a quick look and see if there's anything here that I can spot. But I think a time penalty would be really crap, because if you do time penalties for that, the problem with the time penalty, a couple of people in chat saying it is a disqualification. So yeah, but if you do a time penalty, for example, and you say 30-second time penalty, what's to stop Charles Leclerc in a quick car building out a 20-second lead, and then Verstappen, for example, pits and loses 20 seconds, and come the end of the race, Charles Leclerc is 37 seconds up the road because he hasn't pitted, but he keeps his win because he's got a 30-second penalty. You've cheated your way to that victory. Does that make sense? So I think disqualification absolutely is the right way to go, but I'm not going to go through the regulations because I've just opened them up and you're like, oh god, it's a lot to read through. But I would imagine it's disqualification. A couple of people in chat saying it is disqualification, and when you think about the potential backlash of just giving a time penalty for something like that, it needs to be a disqualification. It absolutely needs to be. Could he pit at the last lap if Williams' garage is before the start line? Williams' garage is before the start line, isn't it? Or just about. Or it might be just after. I'm trying to think what the start line is, and look at that picture right there of the start. I think they're just before the start line. So, I mean, in theory, he could. But I think that all kind of got stopped, didn't it, when Michael Schumacher controversially won the British Grand Prix a couple of years ago. Reality, 1998. So, I mean, technically he could. Technically he could, because it is before the start-finish line. So, he'd cross the line in the pits, but he'd have already made his stop. But I'm not sure if the FIA would have allowed that, if that makes sense. So could do, probably within the rules, but I think probably frowned upon. But then I think a lot of things in F1 are frowned upon, so maybe not. The start finish line in the pit lane is at the pit exit, says Mario. I think so. Yeah, I think the timing lines, I don't know with Albert Park, it's a bit weird, but yeah. Ryan says it's 6 a.m. and I haven't slept. Have you stayed up for the race? Oh, 6 a.m. Yeah, you would do. Why is that a surprise? Sorry, Ryan. That makes perfect sense. Apologies for any traffic noise you can hear, by the way. I was a genius and we decided to move house, and I decided to put my office on the side of the main freaking road through Lincoln. But there you go. It's always drama. The start-finish line is it is after it's near the pit exit, isn't it? Yeah. So that's on the track map. That answers that one. Do you have any thoughts on the speculation about the lead teams using sister teams to do development for them and hide the cost with the budget cap? Says Blackhawk. So good morning, mate. This afternoon, then. Good morning, mate. I've not read anything on that, if I'm being honest. I mean, I joked over the winter, and we joked about it a lot last year on streams, that it would be very easy for Red Bull, for example, to move things around between them and AlphaTauri and all of that business. So I don't want to comment too much on a speculation that I've not seen it, but if that is the case, you'd hope that it was in the rules, surely. If it isn't in the rules, which I'm just trying to think now how it would be if you're moving things around and keeping it quiet, that's dodgy as hell, isn't it? That'll be surely championship disqualifications and all sorts. If that's something that's going on. So I don't like it if it's happening, but it's one of those things that I don't like the idea of it happening. If it does happen, I hope they come down hard on it. But also, it would not surprise me in the least bit. I would not be even slightly surprised if that was something that happened. So let's head to Discord. I've got a couple of notifications on there, but I'll have a read up on that one actually, because that could be an interesting one. So article 30.5. Thank you very much to Newt over on Discord. Just confirming that unless it's wet, you have to run both types of dry tyres. Failure to comply with this requirement will result in a disqualification or the disqualification of the relevant driver from the race results. So confirmation. Thank you, Newt, saying Article 30.5N says it's disqualification. So that one covers that one. Gasly and Hamilton contracts up at the end of the year as well is something else that Newt's saying. So thank you very much on that one, mate, just to confirm that one. And those as well on the... just on the penalties we've already gone over. So if you did miss that earlier when we were talking about it, there's no penalties for those who are being investigated. So Gasly, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, and I assume no decision on Kevin Magnussen. Let me just double check that on what they said on K-Mag, because his was a different one, wasn't it? So forcing another driver off the track. So it was Magnussen and Alonso. So after Magnussen passed Alonso at turn 3, Alonso had a run and was attempting the outside pass. Oh, was that the one at turn 4? Oh, that's not a penalty. Oh, shut up. The cars went through turn 4 side by side, but at the exit, Alonso was off the track. The drivers agreed that this was hard racing with no clear breach of the regulation. The stewards agree and take no further action. So I'm surprised that was even investigated. To be honest with you, Alonso, it was a very ambitious move by Alonso to try and go around the outside of turn 4. That's the kind of thing I do on the F1 game and then wonder why I'm spinning and crashing into the wall for the 13th time. Not good. Yeah, so that's a weird. I'm surprised that was investigated, but it was ambitious from Alonso. Didn't work out. Went off the track. Magnussen's got no real reason to give him space out there, so I'm not. Yeah, anyway. It's a nothing incident, really. Imagine Gasly and Piastri in a Porsche next year, says Warren. What a world. What a change that would be. Crazy. Sean, out of the current F1 drivers, who would you want to have a beer with? That's a great question from Siggy Brick. Honestly, and I'll cover my arse here as a Brit, it's not a fanboy thing, I swear. Lewis Hamilton, and I'll tell you why. I would absolutely... I can't wait for his book, if he ever releases a book. I want to know the full story of 2007 and Spygate and everything that went on there, because I think there's more to that. And you know how I love a good conspiracy theory, but I think there's more to that than we as fans know about. And I reckon he's got some stories to tell. And I think that'd be fast. And also I think as well, it'd be interesting to kind of get his take on some of the stuff we saw last year. So if I could take two, I'd take Hamilton and Verstappen, because then I could have that conversation as well. But I think a drink with Lewis Hamilton and finding out what happened, particularly in 2007 and some other stuff as well, would be really, really interesting. So other than that, I'd probably K-Mag, because I reckon it'd be a freaking incredible night out with Kevin Magnussen on the booze. I reckon that'd be amazing. So Flummox says he's already said he can't say anything now, but you never know when he releases the book, or if I get him drunk enough, there you go. Platty saying 330 likes, 800 just over watching, so please do drop. We're 100 and... Oh, maths at this time. Come on, Sean. 170 away from 500 for Charles. Let's see if we can do that. That is a massive ask with a few minutes after the stream, but let's see if we can get that right up to 500. Not far to go. It's not for me, honestly. It's for Charles. It doesn't make me any money either, by the way. Before anybody asks that question, I always get asked that one. Why'd you ask for likes? To give you money? No. Just nice to know it's appreciated. Yeah, absolutely. I think Kevin Magnussen will be fantastic to go on a night out with. CPB wants a beer with Ricardo. Yeah. why not? Emily had 6 Jaeger bombs on Friday. Actually, Ricardo would be a great night out. Sorry, 6 Jaeger bombs. How are you even alive, Emily? I can't handle one cider anymore, let alone anything like that. Somebody's put at the end of this year, Verstappen will have almost the same amount of starts as Senna ever had. Is a stat from Money Equals Happiness. Is that true? Of course, the seasons are much longer now, but that's mad. That is a mad stat. Thank you very much. CBP also asking, do you think there's any chance that Lawrence Stroll could pull out of F1 at the end of the season if Aston Martin finished last in the Constructors this year? I don't think he will. I think he's invested a lot of money into that team, and I think they're putting a lot of infrastructure in place behind the scenes. What I will say is that I think there is a lot of... What's the word I'm looking for? Not traction, maybe credibility, but I think that there's a lot to read into. Let's put it that way. This rumor that the Audi McLaren buyout has kind of collapsed, and they can't come to an agreement. And suddenly now Aston Martin, apparently talks, according to motorsport.com sources, talks have already taken place between Aston Martin and Audi, or the VW group, about possibly some sort of tie-up there, whether it'll be a power unit supply or a complete buyout or whatever. That could be. I think Lawrence Stroll will be around next year. I think Aston Martin will be around as they are for the next few years, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if things don't pick up in the next few years, that Audi buy that team out ahead of, let's say, 2026 with the new regulations changing, which is what the VW group are waiting for. I could see Aston, what I'm saying is Stroll stay around for a few more years, and then when we get to 2026, if things haven't picked up, then sell to Audi. He can bog off then, and they can rebrand the team as Audi. Is probably what I would see happening there. I don't think he'll go anywhere for the foreseeable. I say foreseeable, that's not that far away, is it? 4 years. That's pretty foreseeable. But I can't see it being any time soon, is what I'm saying. But I could see that deal being done. And like I said, I think Porsche to Red Bull is basically done as well. So that'll be... Yeah. I don't know what to say on Aston Martin. This crap weekend. Rubbish start to the season. There you go. Latifi's a chill guy. I would choose him, says Tom. Bye-bye Stroll then in 2026, says Ryan Lee. That's a good point, isn't it? If Lawrence Stroll does walk away and Audi buys the team, they're not going to keep Stroll, are they? I mean, I don't think Stroll's a terrible driver at all. I'm defending way too much, probably some would say, but I can't see him. There's no need to keep him, is there? They can go and get their own driver in there or whoever. Maybe an opportunity there for Pierre Gasly when he's inevitably still sat in that AlphaTauri waiting for somebody to give him a seat somewhere else. You never know. Max, I think, just as surprises me with that one. There you go. The Senna stat, which has kind of blown my mind a little bit. How many starts does Senna have in the end? Obviously, nowhere near enough. Bless him. So let's have a look. So yeah, 161 starts, 162 entries. Max ain't far off that, is he? That is a hell of a stat. But again, maybe yeah, 144 starts. So maybe more than anything, it highlights how long these seasons are now. I mean, Senna was racing in 16 race seasons, wasn't he? Around there. So, and we're what, 23 this year? It's a big one. Let's take a couple of more then. A couple of more. And then we'll wrap it up for today, because clearly I need to go get a drink and lay down. Would Stroll keep a drive if it wasn't for the money now? Says Platty. Probably not. Would Hulkenberg be in that car alongside Vettel this year if Lawrence Stroll wasn't in charge of that team? Maybe. Would they have gone with, for example, a Piastri? I don't know. It's difficult. They might have kept him for another year to see how he got on, but I think it would be naive. I think it's unfair to say that Stroll is not a good driver, but I also think it's naive for me to sit here and say that he's there on pure talent, because he clearly isn't, is he? So he's a good egg. I like Lance Stroll, and I will defend him. Defend him all day long. Do you think any driver will get a race ban through the penalty point system? Says Charlotte. I don't know what the points are on that one, but I do know that it hasn't Tsunoda got 2 this weekend alone. So he probably needs to be careful. I think Leclerc hasn't got any. I think Charles Leclerc's on 0 reprimands. So I haven't got the numbers in front of me, and I'm not sure where to find those ones, the penalty point system. But they seem to just about avoid them, don't they? We sometimes see drivers get up to sort of 10, and then you get to a race and a couple get taken off because it's been a year since the first ones were put on, and you sort of... I think the 12 points seems to work really, really well. Is it 12 points? Or I think the official your actual driving license, whatever. I think the point system seems to work quite well because we get close to it, but nobody ever quite trips over it. But in order to trip over it, you'd have to be pretty reckless. So it kind of works. I'll find the numbers, Charlotte. I'll see if I find the numbers at some point, and I'll have a read through that and maybe address it on the next stream. I want to do a midweek stream at some point. I don't know when that'll be, though. So, AC says, should Verstappen activate the exit clause due to poor performance by Red Bull? Where should he go if he moves? I don't think he needs to worry about that just yet, AC. It's, yeah, DNF in Bahrain. Yes, DNF today. He's frustrated, which you can completely understand, but also he won Jeddah. And he would have been second today, and he would have been second in Bahrain. So, all of a sudden you give him those second places back and it's a whole different outlook, isn't it? But it's silly to look at it in that way, I suppose. But I don't think he needs to worry about that just yet. Usually mid-season, isn't it, with these exit clauses for Red Bull? So see where they are as we approach the summer break. I wouldn't be. Yeah. Emily says, payment from Stroll Senior for defending his boy. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Emily, for your super chat. This channel, it's a running joke on this channel. If you knew, I'll quickly tell you. We used to get accused, because we used to say about Stroll, he's not the trash driver you all think he is. Cut him some slack. And we used to have a couple of people who legitimately, properly believed this channel was funded by Lawrence Stroll as a mouthpiece for him and his son, which was hilarious. At the time, sat in my little house with my bare bones equipment as it was back then. It's like, come on, guys. If we were funded by Lawrence Stroll, I'd be doing this stream from my yacht. Do you know what I mean? Jesus Christ. I love the internet. It's funny. And actually, while I'm on the internet, I'm going to say this because I've been talking with people about this all week and it's really annoying me. So I've got to make this point. So I totally understand that there are a lot of you who are in, America, in Australia, wherever you are, who regularly have to get up pretty much all year for races at stupid o'clock. I completely appreciate that. And I totally get how frustrating that is to see some people complaining that for 1 or 2 weekends a year, they have to get up at 4:30 a.m. I get it. Get over it. It's Formula One. You want to watch it, you get up and watch it. But if I say on Twitter, or if I say on a stream, or if I say in a video, it's an early start this weekend, that doesn't mean I'm complaining. That doesn't mean you have to come and hurl a load of abuse at me. It also doesn't mean that I need to know at what time you specifically got up and why, and what you had for your breakfast. It's just me saying it's an early start. It's not a complaint. I absolutely love the early starts, but it's been one of those weeks where I could pop on Twitter and go, morning, and I'd just get somebody turn around and be like, oh, here we go, bloody Europeans complaining that they've got to get up in the morning. No, I just said morning, guys. Chill out. I know you lot are generally brilliant, so I'm sure it's none of you, but it's just so frustrating. On Twitter, you can't even say morning this week without being accused of moaning. Like I say, I like it. I'm going to get up, get the stream processed, pop me timestamps in, and then I'm going to go and watch a film, play some Fallout, and then probably fall asleep with the controller in my hand and wake up about 5 o'clock and have my tea. I have no problem with getting up early. It's actually, tell me in chat, does it feel nostalgic as well? Brits and Europeans, does it feel nostalgic a little bit getting up early? Because it's been a long time since we've done this. And it kind of reminds me, because as a kid, I used to get up for the Japanese Grand Prix. My mum used to call me a weirdo. Oh, you're such a weirdo. Why don't you just watch the repeat on ITV? It's not the same, Mum. It's not the same. Getting up at stupid o'clock to watch the Japanese Grand Prix and cry as Michael Schumacher stalls on the grid in 1998 and gets a puncture. Oh, you swine. It just feels a bit nostalgic. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's only twice a year. So I don't get those who are complaining. And also, please don't ever think I'm complaining. I will get up at any time to watch an F1 race. So I have got no problem with that. And I'm sure many of you are the same. So there you go. I just wanted to have my little whinge. I'm sorry. I know, but not everything's an attack. I made this joke yesterday as well to somebody. The other thing on Twitter as well, super quickly, and then we'll get over it, I promise, is hopping onto Twitter and just been like, morning, and then somebody replying with, do you know where it wasn't morning? Abu Dhabi 2021, where Lewis Hamilton was robbed. It's like, Christ, log off, walk away, delete the tweet. I'm not interested. Anyway, let's get out of here quickly. A couple more questions and then we will wrap it up, I promise. It's so weird not listening to you at 4 a.m, Sean, says Warren. What time is it where you are, Warren? Just out of interest. Yeah. What country do you think should fill the TBC part of the calendar? Apparently, we could get a double Singapore with Marina Bay. A Marina Bay Grand Prix. Oh, I don't fancy double Singapore. I mean, logistically, you might as well. If you're there, hadn't you? Might as well 2 races. It'd be cheaper than going elsewhere. But I'd heard the favourite was Qatar, or Qatar, however you want to pronounce it. So, my money is on Qatar. But 2 at Singapore, if the teams want to save a bit of money, or if F1 wants to save some money with logistics and setup and things like that, then 2 in Singapore does make a lot of sense, doesn't it, when you think about it? You know, if we were in Bahrain that weekend, it would be 2 in Bahrain, wouldn't it? Or Silverstone or anything like that. So, yeah. No, I'll say Qatar, but Singapore, double Singapore could be interesting. It's quite a grueling race, so it'd be a bit much back-to-back for the drivers, but, you know, what they pay for. Stroll got himself 3 penalty points this weekend, says Newt. Thank you very much, mate. Only 3. Weird. Yeah. I missed the 10 a.m. start today by getting up at 12 p.m. Ooh. Oh, sorry. I hate seeing F1. Like, I hate watching the replays of the race. I like to watch it live. I'm very much like that one. I'm weird, I know, but there you go. That's just me. I was trying to say what Warren. 8:30 p.m. Oh, it's the evening. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. There you go. So not too early for this time, Warren, which is nice. I know Annette was looking forward to listen. I say looking forward. She was going to bear listening to me in the morning for a change, or the evening for a change, rather than stupid o'clock. Last one then. We'll do James, because it's kind of specific to the race. Thank you, James. Says, do you think McLaren have found a lot of pace overall, or is it just track specific? So I'm going to go and actually find the McLaren quotes if I can. But essentially the line from Lando, I said Lewis Norris. What is it with me and names today? Lando Norris has basically said that he thinks it's track specific. And my feeling is, without having all the information obviously, is that kind of makes sense, because I can't see how they've gone from where they were in Bahrain and Jeddah to suddenly be where they are in Australia in this era, you know, with everything the way it is at the minute in F1. I can't imagine they've done that there. So yeah, I'm just have a quick look here as I cough to death. Lando Norris has a decent race. We didn't have the best of the first laps, but I think by the end we were still in good positions for us as a team, and we couldn't have done a lot more. I think Mercedes had much better pace than us today, so we were happy with where we ended up. Good points, great pit stop, and good progress from the team. We'll take what we've learned away and try and carry it with us. Ricardo, whole weekend's been smooth. Happy to walk away with first points of the year. Better weekend, which is positive for the team. And Andreas Seidel, trying to see, thanking everyone for their hard work, back at the factory and down at Mercedes HPP. Special thanks to Lando and Daniel. Melbourne was, as always, a great place to come racing. There's nothing. It was good to see that we could confirm the progress we have made in terms of car performance over the weekend, also in the race. So there's definitely been an improvement in car performance, I guess is what Andreas Seidel's saying there, but I don't think they've made the massive leap. I think when we get to maybe Imola, maybe some races coming up, I think you'll probably see them fall a little bit further back, but I still think they're probably in and around 4th, 5th place once they've got that sorted. The big problem was, obviously, those brakes were the issue, so as long as they've got that sorted. 119 away from 500. I don't think we're going to do it. But if you can do it, drop a like. Always appreciate it. We're going to wrap it up there, I think. Do you know, actually, that's perfect from Annette. A little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. That's it for McLaren. I like that. I'm also now going to go off and sing songs from Aladdin. So that's my day sorted. And also, thank you very much for the last minute super chat there from Twigster. Says, I missed listening to the Waffle, Sean. We'll hopefully be back for the next one. Thank you so much, Twigster. Great to see you again. And hopefully, I'm trying to think of races coming up that might be a bit better for you. That you might be able to, I don't know what Miami's like. time-wise for you, or maybe some of the races in the Americas. But yeah, we'll hopefully see you at some of those other ones. Just double check that we haven't missed any other super chats. I think that's it for this. So we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining me. Apologies for the just blah, 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 that's been coming out of my mouth for the last 2 hours. I thought it'd be about an hour and a half on my own, but nope, still managed to talk crap for 2 hours. What am I like? So yeah, thank you for coming on. I know it's a lot of people prefer these to be discussion, but obviously that's not always possible, and ultimately it's my channel, so I'm always going to be here to talk about it, whether somebody can join me or not, and that's not a problem at all. It's just great to have lots of interaction with you guys and talk about the sport we all love for some reason. Overall though, I'm very happy with that. I think that was a good race. I don't think it was the best of the season so far, but I think it's not going to go down as the worst. I can imagine that we've got Monaco coming up soon, which is going to be thrilling for everybody, I'm sure. So yeah, always appreciated your company. Please do drop a like, as I say, before you disappear. Always appreciated. We're about 100 off the 500, so I don't think we will, but we got fairly close. I'm happy with that one. Please do subscribe as well if you are new. Lots coming up in the future. There'll be something out between now and the next weekend, obviously, because it's a good... nearly a couple of weeks away now, isn't it? And of course, then it's the preview and everything for Imola. And don't forget, let's all do excited dances. It's the first sprint weekend of the season. Woohoo! But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.